Well, let me tell you what Melba Toast is packing here. We got a 411 Positrack out back. We got
Edelbrock
750
intake.
double pumper Edelbrock intake.
11
to
1
1 pop-up piston, board 30 over, turbo 390 horsepower. We're talking some fucking muscle.
We got to talk about the Pantera. That's the heavy. That's the heavy.
That's the heavy.
Because I like Panteras.
It goes down. This is the best law enforcement interaction story.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, it's the best one.
Yeah, that one's definitely pretty good.
Another edition of Oil and Whiskey. This week, we've got Mike Keller from Big Creek Restoration, all one word on Instagram. Let's get that out first because I probably will forget at the end.
There's spaces in between.
Especially-
Yep.
On Instagram,
Okay.
there's no spaces.
Got
You
it.
spell it all the way out. Okay. Yeah, I'm sure if you typed it in and searching it, it would be Big Space Creek Space Restoration. But on Instagram, if you're going to find him, all one word.
Cool.
No underscore, no spaces.
Do you spell out space?
There's no spaces to spell out. Fuck, it's Big Creek Restoration on Instagram.
Yeah,
I'm trying.
I got it.
Yeah,
I
thank
think
you.
everybody figured it out.
Grief. Kansas, Ellis, Kansas.
Yes, sir.
That's
Where's that at?
How many airports y'all got in there?
Gotta
You
be
get
near
obviously
Kansas
direct
City.
right here to O'Hare.
Yeah, it's a. I tell everybody, I get made fun of quite a bit. Roger likes to really put it on me.
Roger's in no position to be making fun of
and-
anybody.
Oh
Have
yeah, yeah. So
you been to Bakersfield?
oh yeah.
Have you
So-
seen him?
Oh yeah.
The fuck's that supposed to mean? He's
But
tall.
I tell
Yeah.
everybody, like, look, we're the center of everything in the middle of nowhere. So geographically, we can get anywhere.
Yeah.
We're within like 100 miles of the geographic center of the United States. But it is the middle of nowhere. So that's cool.
Yeah, it's good. Probably doesn't get too busy.
When we moved to our new house, when we moved from Cottonwood Street to 9th, it pissed me off because I couldn't turn right at the stoplight. So,
The stoplight.
yeah, that's
okay.
just
Got it.
First
Small
world
town.
problems.
Yeah, I got to go through like 15 of them to get here in the morning.
at the stoplight. And the cool part is now, finally we have some sense. The light flashes from like midnight till 6. So as long as you're to work on time, you don't have to deal with the light. You're cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. What's the population out there? I mean,
1800-ish. Yep. It's actually the boy home town of Walter P. Chrysler, believe it or not. He's got his house right across the street from me. My mom did wallpaper, and I helped her restore the wallpaper inside that home.
Really?
And I always tell people, like, my mom is in there working on this house, and she's like, "Can you help me?" I was like, "Yeah." So go in there, work on this house, and that dude was a hell of a lot better at building houses and at building cars than houses.
Oh, yeah?
He and his dad built that house. It's a little bit crooked, but it's pretty cool. They have a lot of really neat stuff in there.
but they like use it as like a museum.
It's a museum,
or monument?
yeah. It's a museum, so they still mess around with his grandson. He supports it, and they've got like his desk from the Chrysler building. It's kind of wild because you think about that guy coming from that little town, coming up through the train yards, that you had to build your own tools. So his dad didn't want him in that, but he wanted it real bad. So he honeyed up to this mechanic, and the guy started teaching him how to set the valves on steam engines, which was a highly technical process that not many people knew. And it was a closely guarded secret because if you knew that, you could make more money. So he was super mechanical, but in order to be an apprentice, you had to build your own tools. So part of his tools are, I think, in Ellis. Part of them are in the Chrysler building, and I think the Ford Museum in Detroit has a couple of them. So it's pretty cool.
Wow.
Damn.
Yeah.
I used to have a guy that worked here, and I had to build all my own tools to work on everything that he made. Because I've got a drawer, literally a drawer in my box. Is everything he made, there isn't a tool that exists that you could get at that fastener. It was always like a Allen wrench cut down to nothing, wrenches welded together to it's
Everything's either shorter than it's supposed to be or longer than it's supposed to be or Z'd around a corner.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nice.
love them, but just never stuck the tool in the hole to make sure you can get something on it.
Well, you're building some badass shit, right? You got actually brought up here on the podcast by your good buddy Jason, right?
Yep.
You're wearing his shirt. This is got to be a payback for the shout out, obviously.
What?
Yeah.
Sorry.
The shout out.
Okay.
Yeah, you know exactly what shout outs are.
Do you guys like doing shout outs?
Jared's
apparently
big
I
on
do.
shout outs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He's a shout out king, is what they.
Well, I'll
known
shout
him.
out Jason and
Shout him out.
and Buzz on the Rock. That show's unbelievable. My favorite. It's just so chill, and
We are going to definitely give it a better effort to go this coming year than we gave this year.
Man, the parking lot at that hotel is just, it's different. There's not a real competition vibe there, so you're just chilling.
That's good.
And I mean, it's just loaded with builders. Everybody just wants to hang out.
What happened this year that we didn't go? I thought we kind of got the invite, but
The hotel was sold
was
out.
it?
Yeah.
Because we had it all figured out. There was a concert nearby.
There was a concert. We were going to do the
Right place,
podcast
razor
there.
in town.
The problem was, Jason said, "Well, I've got one room, but there was 5 of us going to bring the podcast, so like that, and that was a deal breaker. Honestly, I'm not trying to be a diva,
Yeah.
but
No bunk, it wasn't bunk beds, obviously.
we could have crafted them, but we know how well that works.
Yeah, if we could have. If Phil was there, he wouldn't
Right.
let us again.
Someone's got to be the voice of reason.
No, you guys should definitely make it out to the show.
Yeah, we got to do that.
You know, my buddy Jimmy had his pickup out there. That thing's so cool to look at. I don't know if you guys saw that.
What is that?
He's the one that won the whole show, basically.
Really? I
It's
didn't see much coverage.
it's
to
a
be honest with you.
Weezer drawing come
Oh,
to
yeah.
life.
Is that Model A one?
No, he did do Emerald Tide. That was earlier. That was the all aluminum Model A. But this one's an
Oh,
F1
okay.
Ford. It's blue and it's got the flames on it. It's just unbelievable.
You brought the 33 out, right?
Yeah,
In Bear.
yeah. So Eric Black was there, and we were looking at the car because he drew a lot of pieces on the car for
He was
me.
probably doing some
And,
hipster shit in the corner or something like that, smoking cloves.
Rolling his own cigarettes in the corner there.
You know, he's a great dude.
He hates that. Man, he hates that.
I don't think he looked too hipster. He told me that I had the second weirdest pair of shoes on. He had the first. So
The first weirdest.
yeah.
I could see that being some type of leather boot with like a flap over with a side buckle.
With the
No, they were-
with the toe rubbed through and the steel showing.
Yeah.
Like an old Doc Martin.
Yeah, but a little more pointy.
No. He had on tennis shoes, but they
Just
were
regular tennis shoes?
No, they were some kind of a cool brand that I don't know about because I ain't that cool.
For like PF.
He's getting a little older.
Dude, I
that's-
just got 2 sets of PF flyers in the mail 2 weeks ago.
Really?
They're killer. Yeah.
solid reference. Solid.
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah, I'd rock some PF flyers.
I had to wear my custom Vans today.
What are you rocking?
Oh,
Well, they got my shop logo on them.
Oh shit,
sweet.
Yeah.
that's cool. How'd you get that done?
You just go on their site and you can hit custom.
Huh.
So they've got a whole bunch of them. You can upload your art. You have to own it.
Okay.
And I found that out because I was going to, my buddy Jason, who was the builder of the year for Good Guys, I was going to take that Corvette that he did and put it on some shoes and give it to him because he's helped me out in a few different areas. I just wanted to surprise him when we went to Grand National. So I uploaded his art thinking, Vans will never figure this out. Oh, yeah. They're like, you don't own this.
Says who?
Prove
They
it.
did. They knew.
Prove it.
Yeah,
check that
they
out.
did. No, it's cool. It's
Make
easy
some
to do.
custom Vans.
Yeah. My
Yeah.
problem is I go through them like a child. Like it's like weekly. I get a new pair of Vans, and the first thing I do is go splash in mud puddles.
Yeah.
And then they're done. They're done. It's like I can't keep a pair of Vans for longer than 2 weeks.
Stay out of the mud puddles.
I'm not actually.
Yeah, I know. I
you
say
know,
it's
it's just-
figurative.
right.
I get it.
Yeah.
You do like to jump in puddles. You like to splash people in puddles. That is a thing.
Yeah, you in particular, right?
Yeah.
Did I do that to you?
Yeah, you've
I'm
done
sure
it.
you've done it
Yeah.
to him.
Yeah, we've gotten off to a fucking
Yeah, that's,
absolutely
that's really
banger
weird.
start. Yeah. All right. So we talked about building some badass stuff. You've been brought up on here. You told us, you prefaced this beginning of we better start guessing the first car pretty early, right? But we don't have enough information yet. So let's start the story of how you got into where you're at now. And when it comes close to having to mention the car, then we'll pause. But we got to try to get as much information we get. You're asking us to come in here and just shoot from the hip. Like there's just no way to do it.
Okay, so
Yeah, we're not completely psychic. I mean, it's a skill set, but it takes
All
a
right.
certain amount
All
of
right.
information that we need to process first.
Yes.
so we'll go back to 1982. I'm 12 years old.
In Kansas. Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I keep pestering my dad, I want a car, because every 12-year-old needs a car. So we go to church one Sunday morning. I said, Dad, this girl that's in my class, she rides the bus with me. Her grandma's got a car. I want to buy it. He's like, all right. I said, where is it? I said, well, you know where her grandma lives. So told told him her name, and so we cruised by it. Right, there's a green and white '55 Chevy, 210.
You said it.
Sitting at no.
Okay.
So we pull up on it, and I said, "There it is." He said, "You can't buy that car." I said, "Why not?" He said, "Because it's a goddamn Chevy."
Oh.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So that set it into motion there.
It's a goddamn Chevy.
Was the
Ford family there.
well, growing up in that town, did the Chrysler roots run deep? Is it
Oh
because
yeah.
of-
Well, actually, all three brands are pretty equally, and believe it or not, there's a lot of International Harvester stuff around.
Oh, of course. I was going to say every small town in the United States of America, there's internationals.
Oh, yeah.
Just sitting out back.
A lot of stuff like that.
Starting to piece some pieces together though, because I did see your recent story on Instagram about your building that you're in, which is super cool. And I want to get to that.
Yeah.
That was a Ford dealer. It also said in there your dad worked there,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So it ain't Chrysler.
Right.
It ain't Chevy.
Yeah, you've honed in. It's
Right.
it's a
So
Ford.
that's a Ford, right?
It's definitely
we're gonna-
a Ford, and we're 82
gonna get
at
there.
12 years old.
Yeah,
And you got the car when you're 12.
I did.
Okay.
So before you get to the car, so he said no, it's a Chevy. You got to look for something else. So where do you go looking for the next thing?
Well, just typical me being me. I didn't hear no. I just heard no Chevy. So it's like no, So okay, he agreed that I could get a car, just not a Chevy.
Just not that particular one.
And then we're driving home, and it like dawns on me, we're Ford people. A lot of, a lot of different Fords. Dad bought like a brand new '79 Lariat. That was the first year I think you could get a cloth headliner and like cloth seats and stuff. It was black with red upholstery, Super Crew, 4-wheel drive, had a 400 modified in it. And true to form, he took that thing straight from the Ford dealership. It was like $9,800. We drive to Goodyear. He puts on the wheels, and then in that era,
Slotted mags?
oh yeah. And if you didn't do that, and then guess what happens next? What would you do next?
Probably put like a roll bar with some Casey daylighters on.
100% headache rack, those aluminum ones, bed rails,
Okay.
and the grill guard, all aluminum. So yeah, and then change the exhaust out. Put
Oh yeah, exhaust is
Yeah,
that's
right.
for sure.
So
Straight pencil
cherry
pipes out
bomb
the back.
or something.
Oh yeah. So
last pack.
so that's kind of Dad. He's into speed. He wasn't quote unquote a car guy. I mean, he had some cars growing up. He had a 63.5 Galaxy 393 deuce 4-speed car. That was his high school ride. But when we were, he's just all about the farm. But yeah, so I guess I kept pestering him. I found some, the Sunday classifieds in 1982 were wild. I mean, even in Kansas, you'd open it up and it'd be like 2 pages of classifieds because obviously there's no Facebook marketplace. And you'd see some crazy stuff. And one of the things I saw was a 69 Mach 1 428 Super Corvette 4-speed 430 gears. And I thought, that's exactly what
12-year-old
a
car.
12-year-old.
solid choice. So I'm like pestering Dad, like, we got to look at this thing. We got to look. No, we're not looking at that. So keep coming up with these muscle cars, and surprisingly enough, they would pop up every week. You'd be something for sale. It's 82. Like, these are just used cars. So I think one day he came home and he had gone to this car dealership in Hayes, and he goes, I think I found you a car that's in your price range. So we went over there and looked at it. So it was on a car lot.
On a car lot.
I'm almost 13 at this point.
13.
Yeah.
V8 or V6? Or 6-cylinder. Sorry, not V6. That would be a straight 6.
It had a V8 in it. Yeah.
All I could think, it's a tough one, right? We're just getting started on this podcast. I don't know a lot, but I'm just going to tell you the thing I see in my head, and it's like 79 T-Bird.
T-Bird.
Yeah.
But it's got to be a Ford.
Ford made the Thunderbird.
Oh, the Thunderbird.
For most-
Thunderbird. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. T-Bird.
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, that was a weird ass car of that era, and I just see it landing. I just see it landing in a small town and like sitting on a dealer lot. And vinyl roof. Vinyl roof with that's one of that weird little thing in the sail panel.
The
I think.
Landau.
Yeah. Because that's like you're wanting Mustang Cobra Jet fucking 428, and Dad's like, no, it's not happening. It's got to be something a little more responsible. It's got a V8. This will get you to and from school. Yeah.
82. Flathead V8?
82, not fucking 52.
Wait, yeah, but there's 82. There was still old stuff around. Man, I don't really know. I mean, you got big Ford cars, you know, that was like what you'd put a 12-year-old in, you know.
That's any count of line. That's probably more like it.
Put that thing on its side so fast. This is way too early in it to go for anything. T-Bird's solid.
You got to just throw something out there, and then we'll get into it. Because it sounded the first car seems like it's a big part of the story. So.
Mercury Montclair. Or similar era big ass car.
I'm gonna go Mustang 2.
Oh. All right. When you pull up to the lot, do you know which one it is?
Oh, yeah.
Before he points it out?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I knew which one I wanted it to be.
Okay.
Was it that one?
Yeah.
All right.
It is a red 66 Mustang Coupe. The the problem was it was sporting anodized gold Krager SS wheels.
Shit. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, little oven cleaner.
82. I mean,
So first purchase was that dealer happened to have a set of 15x7 Magnums sitting in the back. So that was an extra 75. So I thought, I had like $450. And I just kind of thought, okay, Dad's agreed to this. He's obviously going to chip in a little here. So we looked the car over, and Dad says, what do you think? I said, yeah, it looks good. And it was like $725, and the wheels were $75, so $800. He goes, okay. He tells the dealer, he said, we'll be back. So we drive back over to our little town about 12 miles away, walk into the bank. He walks over to the president of the bank's office, and he says, this young man wants to talk to you about a car note.
that's a great way to learn.
So I was like, oh, okay. I was like, oh, shit, okay. So, like, I think I had like a $28 a month car payment when I was, before I was
12 years
yeah,
old.
12 years old.
Taught you early.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, they're mowing lawns and
So what are you doing? Driving that thing around the farm for years?
yeah, so you can get a farm driver's license when you're 13 in Kansas. So it's a restricted. You can drive to town and get parts. You can drive to school, stuff like that, So car wasn't really ready to drive. So I pulled the engine out. 289 was smoking terribly.
Couldn't smoke till you're 18, but they put you behind the wheel and say, just
Dude,
make it
13.
back from town.
Think about that. Wyatt, my son's 13.
It's going through my head right now.
Well,
Hey,
He
you're
could
gonna come.
drive-
You're
he
gonna come right back, right?
He could drive it really good, but the things he would do in it from A to B would
It's,
not be so good.
well, I start working on the thing. Of course, I grew up on the farm, so just to backtrack a little bit, my dad, he did work in the Ford dealership for a couple of years, but we've got an interesting relationship. The two of us are almost like a lot the same, so we battled a bit. My wife describes me with one word. She says I'm intense.
intense.
I
Nothing
think
wrong
that's
with
a
intense.
polite way of saying something else. But so I grew up with my dad and my two uncles, and they were driven. I mean, they built a big farm, a big custom harvest operation, a big trucking company. And, from the time you're on a farm, like there's literally not much to do. So you're working like as a little kid. I can remember driving a Ford pickup to feed cattle when you're like 7. They jump out and you're supposed to steer by the bunk, and they throw hay and so you're learning everything when you're super young. So by the time you're 10, I mean, you're a wheelman, you're whatever. I mean, my uncle let me drive a semi when I was 13, full, flatbed 48-foot trailer, so it's just a different thing. You probably couldn't understand it unless you come from that area.
Yeah, it's funny to look at that compared to some kids nowadays. There's a lot of 16-year-olds that they don't even want a license. They don't want to drive a car.
Right.
You're
Yeah.
12, 13 years old driving a fucking big rig, shifting
driving
gears.
we're driving tractors, we're driving trucks, we're driving combines, we're driving just equipment because
In all fairness, we've been to Kansas.
Not
Not a
much
lot
you
of
can hit.
turns, not a lot of curvy roads.
yeah, you're right.
It's-
It's pretty
Go
flat,
down
pretty
that way
straight.
till you can't anymore to come back.
Right.
Go down that way till you can't anymore.
Yeah. But so I was pretty mechanically inclined because I just grew up around it. So, not a lot of patience given based on your age. If they ask for a 9/16 and you could,
bring a half,
yeah,
ass kicked.
yeah, that thing's flying out of there. God damn it, I asked for 9/16. So you kind of like learn quick, if you're going to survive it. So by the time I got my car, it's like, oh, okay, well, the engine's smoking, it's whipped. I'm going to pull the engine. So I'm like 12. I'm in a little garage that they didn't use anymore. So I pull my own engine and I take it over to this machine shop, and there's an old guy over there. And at the time, I thought the guy was kind of growly. And now I realize, like, looking back, he's probably like my age when I take it over there. He's an old guy, right? So he's probably in his 50s. And here comes this 13-year-old kid wheeling this engine in here, going to talk to you about rebuilding it. So honestly, it was probably pretty damn nice looking back.
Did you tell him what you wanted done?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we cammed it. He did a, 3-angle valve job. We put 11-1 pistons in it. I got myself a Edelbrock intake,
It's a 289.
Oh, yeah. Yep. So we built the motor, and I was paying for that. I had that on payments, so had to get that done. And then I found it's kind of funny because one of the kids that works for me now, I bought a 3-speed transmission with a Hirsch shifter from his dad, and I only had $60. He wanted $90 for the whole setup, so I made him $10 a month payments on that. It was whatever it took by any means necessary to get this car done, right? And that was like back in the day. You would get in the back of hot rod, and there'd be this thing like, learn how to put interior in your car for $9.95. So you'd put a self-addressed stamped envelope with a check in there and wait by the the mailbox for this thing to come. Learn how to paint your car. Learn how to. So I had all those books. I was, gaining all this knowledge, and so I get the, that's where it kind of started. I worked on that and just went from there. Got that car running, and my wife's here. I met her because I was friends with her brother, and they were Ford people. He had a Trino, and so her stepdad had a bunch of cool cars. Well, come to find out, I was skipping school one day with her brother, and she was actually home legitimately, and they were in a 2-story house. Of course, this is like not the best policy, like your buddy's sister. But I remember her coming over. We were raising hell downstairs, and I remember her coming over. She was trying to study, and she goes, "You guys need to keep it down." And I look up there. I'm like, "Damn, okay." So that's how I met her. But she had a '68 coupe that she was working on, and yeah, when I was romancing her, one of the things I did was I went over and I sanded on her car. So that's all I had. I don't have a big bag of tricks.
Was there some shit talking though? Because the '68 was. It's a little bit more badass of a car than the 64.
66, yeah.
Or 66.
I don't know. Her car was cool, but yeah. They were yeah. I don't know. It was all right.
How do you tell your buddy beforehand, or you just start working that on the backside?
Well, what happened was he actually, that sorry son of a bitch started dating my sister. So I thought,
a free game.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, let's go.
Two can play at that game.
Yeah, so that's how it happened.
Yeah. And that's an interesting one. We got a lot of sister fuckers in our my brother-in-law Kyle. He married his best friend's older sister. That's a good one. When you marry the older sister, that's when you know you're
It's a
doing
flex.
something. Yeah,
It's a flex.
Yeah. What, Tony?
Tony married Josh's sister.
Yeah.
You got tickled at that, didn't you?
Sorry about that.
This one's off to amazing start.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was just hanging with your buddy the other day, and that was what made me think of it. It's like, how's Rachel and Josh?
Her brother.
Yeah, her brother.
We had a lot of fun with that one when that first kind of
I bet.
was out in the new.
Yeah. I'm sure he loved to hear it.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah.
Yep.
So doing all this, you're meeting her. At what point are you starting to think about what you're going to do for a living?
Damn.
It's got to be earlier growing up the way you grew up than
No, not
someone
really.
in
So
a big city.
in school, I remember they.
When you went.
No, I did. Yeah. Okay. Fine. All right. I did skip a lot of school.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
And-
What, you got 5 people in your class, though? The
No, we had
population's
44.
14. Oh, did you?
Yeah, we had 44. Principal called my mom one day when I was a freshman, and he said, "Mrs. Keller, Michael, he can't miss any more school." And she's like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, I know he's helping his dad all the time.
that one backfired.
He can't miss any more school." She goes,
It's not helping
"What?
us.
He's not helping it. What are you talking about?" "Well, he's missed school 9 times because he's out helping his dad work cattle." And she's like, "Okay, all right." So that happened to be on a day I was skipping.
Yeah.
It's a crazy story. So we roll out, we show up at school, and then my buddy's like, "The crappie are running at Cedar Bluff. We got to go fishing." I'm like, "All right." So we just leave, and there's like 6 of us that leave all at the same time, like not suspicious at all. We call it in, hey, you gotta help. Had my buddy's sister, my buddy's wife, who was young, call in and say, "This is Mrs. Keller. Mike's going to be helping his dad move cattle." Okay, he's excused. So we had to mow this guy's lawn before we could leave town because his dad told him he needed to mow it after school. So we go grab like 3 lawnmowers, weed eaters, wherever they're mowing it. And then the driver's ed teacher's out driving, and of course he knows us all, and someone yells out, "Mathis!" And we just drop our tools and run to the garage, and then he's kind of circling but we thought, well, we're already caught, so let's go fishing. So went fishing, got a tremendous sunburn. I mean, we were out there all day. It was hot. So I think, all right, I'm going to tell my mom I went out to this junkyard to part this car out. I'm going to stay out till like 9, not go home. And that's just how Gen X was. Like, there was no phone. I'm not calling her. So I just show up at like 9:30 at night on a school night, sunburnt so bad. I walk in, she says, "Where'd you get that sunburn?" I said, "Oh,
Welding.
after school." I said, I went out to Hamburg's junkyard, and I was getting some parts for this Torino. She's like, "You want to try again?" So what? She said,
When she says that, that's when you just come clean. That's when they know.
That's the best advice.
Yeah.
Well, the funny thing is, my dad had caught me maybe a couple months before. We were sitting at Hayes at the A&W, drive up eating at noon. He rolls in with his buddy, and I just look up and I see my dad, and he goes, "This is your one get out of jail free card. You better not let your mom find out about this." Okay. Well, she did. It was bad.
I've got an 18-year-old, or soon to be 18 here in 2 weeks. And that's been some of the conversations of the last couple of years is like, "Hey, I don't like it, but I get it. Just don't make this my problem by her finding out."
Yes.
And when she finds out and it's my problem, now it's going to be your problem. But then there's been a couple of times where she's been the one to find out. And I was like, "Dude, my hands are tied. I ain't got nothing." Sorry, you're going down for this one.
Oh, yeah. So that kind of put an end to that. But I don't know. You're in high school, everybody's telling you, "Oh, if you go to tech school, you're a loser. So you got to go to college." So I'm kind of like, all right, I'll go to college. There's a 4-year college right by us. So I got scholarships in history and English comp because I was, pretty good at that stuff. So it's like, and got an ACT scholarship somehow, miraculously. And I thought, well, that's what I'm going to do. So I was dating her, and we did these tests in the library that were real weird. And, you sit there and it's like you open this thing up and it's got these gears. And it's like, if this one's turning this way, which one is this turning this way, And so it's like, oh, okay, this. I fly through this thing and I'm like, those are weird. So then like 2 weeks later, it's like, "Can Michael Keller come to the advisor's office?" I'm like,
Oh, shit.
all right. So I
And
get out of
skipping
class.
school
Yeah,
in a
I get out
while.
of class and I go down there and it's like, "Oh, I'm from the Army. I'd like to talk to you about." I was like, okay. So then like a couple days later, "Can you come down?" Okay. So it's like Marines, Air Force. So apparently like it's a mechanical aptitude test. I didn't know that because I was like, everybody's like, oh, that's so hard. And I'm like, that shit? That was easy. It's like got belts on pulleys and stuff. And how's this working, you know? And apparently I had scored really, really high on that. So I had a chance to go kind of any military. And I thought, I'm not real good with like people telling me what to do.
Yeah, probably not a good place for you.
Yeah,
then.
so I went to college and I did that for, I was going to be a senior and I was working like 3 jobs. I worked for the car club guys. I'd go over to their house and if they needed like an engine compartment done or something, I'd like do it in their garage with their tools for minimal amount of money, just, you know, to make some money. If they needed a headliner, if they, whatever. Cause I had the professional knowledge. I paid $9.95 for these books.
And know how to do it. Right.
Might as well
Absolutely.
use it.
Yeah. So
What did you charge then?
not much, probably like $4 an hour.
Okay.
Minimum wage was $3.35. So
you got, I mean, pretty good return on your $9.95 investment.
yeah, I mean,
though,
it
like
was
right out of the
cash.
gate.
And really, like, my main goal on any of this, because I was so nuts with this, was for them to let me drive the car. That was the main goal. Because at that time, like, I can remember working on a Hemi Challenger. You know, it's like, I want to drive that. And I got to. I can remember working on a Cyclone spoiler, 429 Super Cobra Jet. Got to drive that.
I need to take this around
So
the block,
yeah.
make sure that headliner
Yeah.
stays in.
So it's like if you work on the engine, I need to drive it around. Yeah. And it's like, you know, I mean, I'm not saying I didn't rod on them.
Yeah, right. Of course.
But my whole goal was like, I just wanted to drive. I mean, I drove about everything you can drive just because I was like the guy, you know, and they all wanted like cheap labor and I didn't care. It's like whatever I needed to do to be around cars. So
Who's driving around in a Hemi Challenger at school? I mean, what kind of dudes
well, it
that's-
was car club guys, you know, so they were guys in their 25, 30, you know, range. And, you know, we were in a car club and there was probably, I don't know, 30, 40 people in it. And they had a lot of cars. And that stuff was like, you gotta understand, like at that time, a Hemi Challenger might be, you know, 13 grand, 15 grand.
Well, at this point, you're what, mid-80s?
Yeah. It's like 89.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was kind of how it went.
Challengers all kind of blew up. I think it was 99, the
When you sold yours.
hour after I sold mine. Yeah.
Yeah. But there was a lot of that stuff around, you know, Boss 302s and Shelbys and just a lot of that stuff out there. A lot of muscle cars. So that's kind of where I got my love for muscle cars. So went to college for 3 years, and then my advisor and I got crossways. I was doing pretty good. I had like a 3.3. I was working several jobs. I was a janitor. I welded on oil field stuff. I ground whatever, you know, to make it. So we got crossways, and she wanted me to student teach, and I was like, yeah, I'm not doing that. And she's like, well, you have to. I was like, no, I don't. She goes, well, what are you going to do with a history degree? I don't know, lady. I just want the paper. You know, I ain't doing anything with any of this. She's like, well, why are you even
spending a lot
here?
of money?
I said, well, everybody said you had to go get a piece of paper. So this is my piece of paper. I just want my paper. Well, you got a student teach. I was like, I don't think you know how this deal works. I'm the customer. So I made my mom proud and quit my senior year.
Probably best you didn't do the military thing.
Probably.
Yeah.
So
It made it right to the finish line, huh?
So yeah. So went back to the farm. For a minute there, we were going to get rich in Amway. You know, so I'm glad you guys are all here. So you show 6, you show 4, you show. So we figured out like, okay, so pyramid schemes, not going to work. All right, we're not going to get rich. Let's farm. So went to the farm, started farming for Dad, and I don't know, just kind of got into life. We got married, and she was 20, I was 21, just young, dumb, and happy, and not making any money, but making enough to survive. And I sold my 71 Torino Cobra so I could buy her a car that was safe to drive back and forth to work. And I'm so glad that those 87 Lincoln Town cars have come on in value. That really
Good investment.
Great investment.
That's a good car.
yeah. Anyway, I bought it back like 19 years later, so I have it.
I said big Mercury and Lincoln, so we're
Yeah,
getting,
that was
getting back
close.
around.
That was a nice car, dude. I mean, that thing was comfortable. But
They had the seats for 4 decades. They had the best seats out there, the couch.
89 wasn't like the squared off.
It's
body
the square
style,
one, yeah.
Like a
So
cop
we had
car
an
style.
we had an 87 and we had an 89. The 89 had leather interior. It was like sitting on a leather couch.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Car was so comfortable.
I had a 79 two-door powder blue. That's a Mean Machine Cartier edition.
Cartier.
Yeah.
I bought it for him for a birthday present as a joke. Yeah, and then we all got 70s leisure suits and went to
God.
the horse track for his birthday.
Oh my God. That's
It
wild.
was like 8 dudes in a 2-door Lincoln.
We weren't even
Comfortable.
Like, yeah, you were. You weren't even crammed in.
All the room.
Yeah, I missed that car.
So at that time I was driving, I switched over to drive her car. We had sold her coupe. It had been painted and they put a bit too much metallic in the paint for our taste. And it was starting to have a little bit of bubble coming to the recorder and I knew it was rust. So we sold it and we bought the nicest 65 fastback. It was an A code 289 automatic and it was poppy red with white upholstery. Beautiful car, which she hated because it was poppy red, orange.
Yeah.
And she wanted it black. And I told her I'd paint it black. That was a lie. We ended up selling it to buy our house. So at that point, I went and found a 71 Bronco and redid that. And that's what I drove every day for about 10 years till our son was born. So kind of just always into old stuff and love that Bronco. It was cool. I painted it Eddie Bauer green and got a Eddie Bauer upholstery out of a Bronco 2 and retrofitted it into there with the little trees and everything.
Custom. Was it all lifted and fenders cut and shit?
Yeah, it was K-bar S'd up, you know, it had the hood, fiberglass hood with a, you know, and it had, yeah. So it had all that neat shit and had a nice little 302 roller motor and it was real cool. Had a badass sound system in it. My buddy we used to do a whole bunch of 12-volt stuff, so it had just a boatload of Polk audio in there. It had 8-inch mids in the front, 8s and 5s and tweets, and then like 4 subs. So it was cool.
Probably thumped pretty good.
Yeah, a lot of fun. Drove that for a long time. That truck kind of led to, I guess, the restoration in a fashion because we were broke. So I decided I'm going to save some money. Let's just go liability. Terrible idea. Had a beautiful Eddie Bauer green paint job on it, and I rolled the thing. I hit a deer and rolled it one night coming home. No insurance.
Roll it. What happens? Walk me through, like, hit the deer and rolled.
Well, when I was going to try to miss him, and I got over into the grader ridge, you know, on the dirt road, and it kind of caught that tire, pulled me down into the ditch, and then it just, I didn't really roll it. I
put it on its side.
Yeah, 3/4 ass rolled it. So I put it on its side, and then it was like, oh boy, we don't have any money. We can't.
Down in Alabama, we call that tumped it. I tumped it over.
Tipped.
Yeah.
I tumped the truck over last night. You tumped it over. That's what you did. I didn't say it's right. I'm just saying what we said.
So at this point, you know, working at the farm and not making a lot of money. And so I had been working for a friend of mine at night in a body shop. And I was doing mechanical stuff for him. You know, he was buying builders and, you know, I need an engine in this Ford pickup or whatever that he bought at auction. So, all right, I'll go over there and do that at night, trying to make some extra money. And so I hired this guy that worked for him to come help me paint this out at the farm. So that's kind of where I learned body work, was from this guy. That and the Paintucation VHS tapes. So I paint this thing and I'm like, oh, that's pretty damn nice. I think I could do this, you know. So, you know, things on a family farm, it's my dad and I, you know, I was trying to get into the farm, but he owned it with his brother and it was real complicated and it just wasn't an easy situation to get into. So we kind of butted heads a little bit on the direction that was going to go. And then when we ultimately she made the decision. You ever just been sitting in your house and your wife, you accidentally make eye contact with her and you know that you just made a mistake? I was sitting there reading a book in the chair and she come around the corner one Saturday and was just standing there. And when I looked up, she had her hand on her hip and I'm like, oh,
Just a minute. Let me finish this chapter.
And I was like,
So-
and she's like, do you ever want to have kids with me? Because we'd been married for about 7 years at this point.
Yeah, let's go practice again.
I was like,
Been thinking about it.
yeah, but we don't have any money. She's like, what are we going to do about it? It's like, and it's just like one of those moments where it's like that life changes. I'm like, damn it, she's right. I'm not who I said I was going to be. I'm just going through the motions. So that was when I tried to get involved in the farm, and it just wasn't going to work out for a number of reasons. So at that point, I decided, well, I need to look around and kind of figure out what I'm going to do with my life here, you know. So I called Fort Hays. I'm like, what's it going to take to get my degree? And it's like, man, I don't want to teach. That just got me. And then I went and did a bunch of different research into a bunch of things. So I ended up calling this friend of mine, and he was in business. I call him on the phone. I'm like, dude, I don't know what to do. You know, I'm 27, 28 now. I don't know what to do with my life. I mean, you seem to have your shit together. You have a business, you know, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, this is kind of funny, because he said, I was about that age when I called a friend of mine because I was getting frustrated where I was working. And he said something to me. He goes, what would you do if you knew you wouldn't fail at it? It's like, what does that mean? He goes, what would you do? Like, if you knew you couldn't fail, what would you do? Well, I mean, I knew immediately what I would do, but it's a pretty dumb thing to do in the middle of Kansas. So I said, I don't know. And he said, well, call me back when you know. And he hung up on me. I was like, son of a bitch. I knew right away, like, I'd restore cars and build hot rods, but you can't do that in Ellis, Kansas. Like,
Well, I think the bigger question is, like, what did you actually end up doing for a living? Because if you were saying you're sitting there and the thought is like, we need to make money, and then you're going to say, I started a hot rod shop.
Yep.
It just doesn't fucking add up.
So we needed health insurance, and I knew how much that cost, and I thought, man, and this is like 99 now, and I thought, well, looks like we're going to need to make about $36,000 a year. So I was like, all right, I'll figure that out. So
This is before OnlyFans, way before OnlyFans. So.
yeah, her and I combined. So she's working at the bank, and I'm making like $6 an hour at the farm, no benefits, which is the way it is out there, you know. So that's minimum wage, and so I tried to get involved in the farm, and you know, like I said, it didn't go well. So I'm sitting here going, all right, what can we do with these hot rods? So I start working more for my buddy at the body shop, doing stuff at night, trying to make more money, trying to figure this out. So got a little bit of a reputation that I'm doing kind of some of this work. And all of a sudden one day, this guy that is a hot rodder that knows me, he shows up in the farmyard. I'm sitting there working on a piece of equipment with this other dude, and he goes, hey, Bill's got this car and he needs some help with it. He had it at a restoration shop in Iowa, and he's got like 60 grand in it. This is 2001 now, like 911, right? Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of stuff that doesn't work, and he needs someone to finish it. So I was like, all right, you know. So he goes, will you work on it? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, when can you start? And I said, well, you can bring it by my house on Saturday. I'll work on it. And he goes, okay, well, what's your policy? I said, and I just blurted out like, well, it's $18 an hour. He's like, okay. So they pull out the farmyard, and I'm going, holy crap. I just tripled my income, you know.
So I made it.
Yeah, so he pulls this car in our driveway in our little house. We got a 900 square foot house, and now we got a son, and it's a little bit different situation, you know. So he's a baby, and I start working on this 68 Camaro convertible that he had somebody restore that he put like 60 grand in it, which was
It's a lot of money.
a fair amount of money. Yeah, and it had a lot of problems, like they didn't do the punch list. So he had, you know, we went through the punch list. He goes, I want all these things fixed. So I start working on it, uninsulated, 14 by 17 garage. And if I had to work on the other side, I had to pull it out and back it in the other way. So I get done with the thing, and it, you know, all the problems are fixed. And I had quite a bit of time in it. I had 100 hours in it. And he had given me some money for materials. So he comes, picks the car up, and okay, everything's great. And I did all, you know, I just did everything. You know, the gauges worked, all the wiring was good, you know, blah, blah, blah. It had a broken leaf spring that they left on it. And when you'd back up, it would clunk. When you would stop, it would slap the bottom of the car. There was some real shoddy crap on this. So he takes a car, he and his wife leave, and about 4 hours later, they show back up on the driveway. And that was my first experience with, oh, shit.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. And it's
Glove
just like,
box
what
door.
happened?
It's got to be the glove box door.
What happened? So
9 times out of 10.
he had give me a check for $1,800. And I'm telling you what, when you're making $6 an hour and you walk in the house with an $1,800 check.
What are we going to do with all this money?
Yeah, well,
Steak
I threw it
dinner
on the
tonight.
table. I mean, you're walking that, man, you're King Kong. I mean,
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, we're gonna do this. Well, he comes back and he brought me, at the time, Traeger grills were pretty new. And they were like $800, and all my buddies are buying them, but we're broke. And I just wanted one, but I knew I couldn't spend that $1,800 on one. So this guy shows back up and he says, "You're undervaluing yourself." And I said, "What?" He said, "I was paying these guys $55 an hour," and he said they took my dream car and made it into a nightmare. And he said, "For $18 an hour, you made it back into my dream." And he said, "You're undervaluing yourself." And he gave me a check, another check for $900. He said, "I don't feel good about this."
Wow.
And I was like,
Damn.
and it was weird because it just changed me. I was just like, oh. So got my Traeger grill, which I still have. It sits in my shop. We use it at the shop. It was like the very first thing that I felt, successful about. So now here we go. So the process of leaving the farm is complicated because when you're the oldest son, you're expected to farm. So looking back on it, my dad and I, we got into it, and no disrespect to my dad. He's my hero. I mean, I learned so much from him. His work ethic is second to none. He's one hell of a fabricator. He's just a brilliant but very, very driven guy. Some might call him intense.
Intense.
Wonder where you got it.
So when I announced to my parents that I'm going to build cars and restore cars and build hot rods in Kansas, they I got 2 little kids at this point. They were less than enthusiastic about the idea.
How unenthusiastic were they? What was the response? Do you remember? Was it something that stuck with you? Was it like, you're gonna fucking do what?
Tools getting thrown.
So my mom has always been, you can do anything you put your mind to kind of lady. And she really wanted to be a grandma. So she was she was doing daycare for our kids a couple days a week when my wife worked. So my dad, it got pretty heated. And I understand that now. Like at the time I didn't. And I think, whether you believe in God or not, I think a lot of things that have happened to me was God working in my life. There were things that I thought happened to me that happened for me. And one of those things was my dad really pissed me off. He was mad, I was mad. So we butted heads. And we've got a great relationship now, But at that time, can you imagine being, he was 56 at the time. Can you imagine being 56, having your 30-year-old son he can do everything. He's your right hand. And he says he's going to leave your business and go do this?
Yeah, it's a lesson in economics. He's fucking paying you $6 an hour.
Well, it wasn't entirely on him because he's partners with his brother. So when you look at, I couldn't see that.
So then he was paying you $3 an hour.
Right.
Brother's paying you the other 3.
Good point. And I wasn't really sure how to approach this whole subject because I don't want to disrespect my dad.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I stayed an extra entire summer because he kept saying things like, "Oh, you can't leave me now. We're going to do this operation." I was like, God, I can't leave him. And I'm not going to leave him high and dry. So I'd stay and I'd stay and I'd stay. And I had a shop full of cars at $35 an hour. So for 2 years, I worked at night and every weekend because I was completely undercapitalized. I'd rented a building, the back room of the building I'm in now, for $250 a month. and it was like 44 by 44, but it had a paint booth and it had an air compressor, no bathroom. But I had it full of cars, so I made a commitment to myself that we wouldn't spend any of the money I made at the shop except on tools. Because when I walked in there, I had a Binks Model 7, a $333 set of Craftsman tools, and a yellow plastic Craftsman toolbox with 3 drawers, and a creeper that I bought at AutoZone for $15. That's it. So that was the business plan. So we had put and I committed, like, I'm going to work as many hours for myself as I do for my dad. So a lot of times I'd just fall asleep on a creeper and get up and go to work for him all day and then come back and go down there all night. And she would come down and bring me sandwiches and bring the kids down, and they would play, and they kind of grew up there for a bit, you know, and it was good that they were super young, because that part's kind of, it's better then than later. And
yep.
she was great. My wife's like my biggest supporter. She believed in me. Honestly, she's one of my heroes, because she believed in me when there was no evidence that it was smart to believe in me.
Yeah.
So
it takes a good woman.
Yeah,
to make this happen.
Yep. We're a great team. She's my brains, like paperwork and all that stuff. She just handles it, so I don't have to worry about it. I know it's right. So when I go to leave, I had to make an agreement with my dad, because every time I'd try to quit, he'd say, "Oh, you can't quit." So I said, "What's the last thing we do of any importance?" He said, "Well, we drill wheat." I said, "That's right." I said, "That's the last thing of the year means anything." I said, "The last day we drill wheat is the last day I work for you. Do you agree to that?" He's like, "Yeah." I said, "Let's shake hands on it. You need to repeat it." So he did. So I think it was October 10th, 2004. Last day we drill wheat. So take the tractors, go to the farm. Dad says, "I'll see you in the morning." I said, "Not unless you're at my shop, you won't." Now, I'm going to tell this, but like, no disrespect to Dad, but he goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, I don't work for you anymore." I said, "We had a deal." He's like, "Well, who the fuck's going to clean up all this equipment?" I said, "Well, I guess when you get up in the morning, you're going to be looking at that guy in the mirror." Because I said, "I don't work for you anymore." So we got, it got kind of heated. So I left. And then, like, starting your own business, even though I was in business, I was driving a 87 Ranger pickup. I pull up in the alley, which is where the shop was. This thing's so redneck, guys. I mean, I'm almost embarrassed to tell you, but this is just how it started. So if someone out there is, starting like this, it can be done. But I'll never forget walking up to that door, and the weight of it just hit me like, oh shit. I go to open my garage door, and I didn't know if I was going to, I didn't know what an anxiety attack was. We didn't have those words in the 80s, but I knew I felt like I was either going to throw up or pass out. So I let that hit me for about 10 seconds, and I was like, and then I thought about the words that were exchanged, and it was a lot of that anger that I had because of that, it was a gift. My dad pissed me off. I was like, nope, I ain't failing.
Fuels you a little bit.
It was
right?
fuel.
Yeah, you're going to go back now.
No.
You cannot go back to the farm after making that scene.
So Dad had a partner. So everything had to be like, there was no, basically my wife called me that afternoon. She'd went to pick up the kids, and she said, "Would you like to be mad now or later?" That's what she said on the phone. I said, "How about now?" She said, "All right." She said, "Well, your dad gave us a bill for the amount of time you talked on his cell phone to people who weren't in his book." And he was mad, and I'm not saying I wouldn't do the same thing, because we're just kind of the same person. I go, "How much is it?" She said, "It's $126.50. I said, she goes, "What do you want me to do?" I said, "Pay it.
Write a check."
But I said, "I ain't coming home." She's like, "What?" I said, "I ain't coming home." I said, "I'm working." So, I just worked through the night. And so really, really made me mad. So 6 months later, he'd wrecked his pickup. He hit the tailgate on it. And he comes by the shop one day, and he goes, "Can you fix my pickup?" And I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "Oh, the body shop said they'd do it for this, and I had the tailgate." He goes, "Can you do that?" I said, "Oh, yeah." But I said, "I got a little miscellaneous charge they don't have." And he goes, "Oh, that's fine. Say lease."
$120 service charge.
It was $126.51. So that's kind of how it went. And like I said, I love Dad. You know, he gave me a gift. He made me mad.
Yeah.
So we just cranked from there. I'd set goal to have a shop full of old cars. Well, it didn't end up like that in the beginning because you got to take what you can get. So I started doing like some rebuilders for some guys, and you know, did a Toyota pickup for a kid, and I even painted a Dodge Shadow that was aqua. Remember that car? Yeah.
There's so many people out there that start, if they pay, you spray. Like that's like you said, you got pissed off, you got the work ethic, you got the drive, so you're not going to be like at that point puff your chest out. I'm only working on hot rods.
Yeah.
I could spray that, but I'm sorry, I'm above that. I'm a hot rod builder now. You ain't a hot rod builder yet. No. You're trying to become a hot rod builder, right?
Correct.
So yeah, we get that.
Actually, the thing that saved my ass the first couple of years was tractors. Sounds crazy, but there was a guy that had a tractor dealership, and there was a whole series of these case tractors that paint peeled off of. I know this sounds red, like who in the hot rod industry wants to hear about tractors? But it paid $1,000 to paint these tractors, and I can do it in a day and a half. And I had $100 in materials, so it was like crazy money.
That's good profit.
So it like kept the shop open, and he was happy because he got his tractor back in 2 days, all the pieces, because I'd just work until it was done, and that's what kept the shop open. So it was whatever, by whatever means necessary. It didn't matter. No work was too much work. And
how are you getting your name out there to try and land? I mean, it's always, I'm sure it's incremental, just like we've had these stories. We've all talked about our own stories. It's incremental. The guy's like, go ahead and do a little bit of this. You do a little bit of this. How are you getting to that first customer? How's that? You talked about it was a memorable experience, you know, doing that punch list and that guy saying you're undervalued. There's got to be that time where the guy's like, yeah, I'll pay you to do this, 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 and this. And you think, I got the whale.
Yeah.
I got it. Yeah. Finally.
So, there was a Mustang club that we used to be a part of way back when. I was one of the first members in like 84 or 5 and bought this beautiful powder blue jacket that I can't even believe I bought it. We still have it. It's embarrassing. I can't believe I wore that.
Sounds like a Mustang.
It was a windbreaker. Yeah, it was terrible. Oh my God, I just thought it was cool at the time. But anyway, yeah.
We get a picture of that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
We need a picture of that.
That's going to be the thumbnail for this podcast.
You wearing that jacket.
Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, this thing was...
You still got it, right?
Did you have the running horses on the back?
Yes, it did. Yeah, it did.
It has to have
honestly did.
Yeah.
It's got your name on it, embroidered?
No, I don't think it did. I don't know what the hell I bought that thing for. I just had to have it. Anyway, I'm not really sure why I said that. Anyway,
we're glad you did.
Yeah. There's that. So the Mustang Club calls and they're like, "Oh, we heard you have a shop. We want to tour it on a Sunday." I'm like, "All right, cool." So I don't really have anything in there. I've got a 53 Chevy, which was my first full build. It was a 53 two-door that I was doing. It was a real mild custom that this lady had bought. Her parents had bought it for her when she went to college in like 1960, and she kept it, and her husband was having me restore it for her. Did the whole car, lock, stock, and barrel for $35,000. And I saw it a couple years ago. It's in a museum. It's black. It still looks legit. So I was pretty happy about that.
Did you have your jacket on when they came in to tour the place?
No, I didn't.
Really?
So the only thing I had...
All that money spent. You didn't even get to show it off.
The only thing I had was that car on a rotisserie, and I had taken a little one of those little pedal planes, like those vintage pedal planes, and I had painted one for my daughter for her second birthday. And I mean, this thing was wild. I mean, it was pink, and it had white scallops with purple pinstripes that color shifted, and it had like a little airbrushed heart on the front. It was called the Heartbreaker, and it was little M lettered on the it was crazy. I spent forever doing it, and then she cried when we gave it to her because the cousins all scared her. But anyway, my kids just rode the hell out of this thing. But it was a pretty high-end paint job, and it was just like a passion project for my daughter's second birthday. And I thought, well, I'll just set that thing in the middle of the shop because I don't have anything. I got a few tools, the Chevy, and that little pedal plane. Mustang Club comes through. There's like 30 guys. Talk to them, here's what I'm doing, blah, blah, blah. And there's one guy that kind of circles the plane like 5 times. He's looking like pinstripe and everything. And they leave, Shit, just wasted 3 hours. Go home. My wife's like, well, is there any work? I was like, I don't think so. Nobody said anything. She's like, all right. A couple days later, this guy shows up at my shop, and he walks in. He goes, I want you to do my car. It's like, okay. He's like, I want to build a really badass 66 Mustang Fastback. And he said, I want you to do it. And he said, I've looked at shops all over. And I said, all right, yeah, let's go. So end up doing like, at the time, like Total Control and 347, trim at 5-speed and 9-inch and billet specialties. And it ended up having Momar injection on it, which never ran quite right.
I remember that stuff.
Yeah.
They're not around anymore,
didn't. No, that's kind of a weird story, but it had, I had base cleared the whole bottom of the car. I mean, it was a nice car, first of all, the Fastback that he bought was like stunning, and he drove it in my shop, and he's like, it was a Prairie Bronze. He's like, tear this apart, paint it red. So, okay. So we built this, it was in 2005, and we built this beautiful red. It was like a Volkswagen red, just really popped, and somehow those two colors worked. And then I did some cool stuff on the inside, and we had really nice leather interior. It was high end, and I thought, man, I'm gonna take this thing to a couple of Good Guys shows. So took it to Kansas City, took it to Loveland, and we ended up winning a few things with that car, and it kind of gave us some traction. And we got Ford and some stuff like that, and it's like, wow, okay, well, there we go. So that kind of started us off, and then I built a 39 Mercury for a guy I worked for. I ground hay and did baling for at the feed yard. He knew I went into business, and he just knew me and who I was and my work ethic, and he wanted to build a hot rod. So we built a 39 Merc for him, and it was a cool car. And then, you do all these things that you can't bill for because you want to show people what you're capable of. So these guys are paying enough money to keep the doors open and to keep the family fed. And then everything else you're doing on that is to try to show what you're capable of. So I really don't know of any other way to do it. I don't think you can just start a shop and have somebody pay you for every hour.
You're
Probably the most
you fit right into the trend.
This right here is the most talked about and covered topic of anything out of 3 years on the podcast. And it's the same thing. We catch flack for it sometimes on, out and about at shows and stuff like that. And you get people like, you're telling me I got to donate, labor, and like that's not a way to run a business. And like, well, no. I mean, we've talked about it specifically that, in me personally, and I think we all say the same thing, the real measure of success, air quotes, like, is donating less and less each year.
Correct.
That's what success is, because even
But it never really stops.
it doesn't stop. But
It's like you think about what other industry is there? Like, what could you have built, right? If you were building a house, do you think that contractor goes home, or do you think the architect goes home and spends all night like researching ideas for the house to make it cooler?
well, think about it on a lawyer. If you were billing like a lawyer, they're not thinking about your case, or they're billing you.
Yeah.
They bill you for billing you.
Even I mean, I can't think of any industry. You talk about like where you stop giving away the labor, but like your mind being wrapped up in that car is still essentially labor, right? When you go home and you spend the entire evening thinking about it, researching it, preparing for it.
And it's not just you.
Yeah.
It's the fabricator. It's the machinist. It's everybody that's involved in that project.
It just never. It never.
They
stops.
don't stop either if they're passionate about it, and most of them are.
Yeah.
They don't stop thinking about it. So yes, I didn't say that success is getting to the point where you don't donate. Yeah, it's just donating a little less and less and less each year.
So, we roll out of those two, and it just so happened the guy with the 39 Mercury was in some oil stuff with a guy that was a producer. He and his brother come walking in my shop one day, and they like, oh, we heard you're building, this car for Pete, and I want a car. Okay. So they're looking at the car. It's on the lift, and it was a pretty nice car. He goes, I want to build a 40 Chevy, but I want it like that. I was like, all right. He goes, how much does that cost? The how much. So this was before I was like savvy to kind of.
So you're like 660.
Yeah. So I told him, I was like, oh man, to build a car like that, you're probably looking at 175,000. And
shot pretty high.
Yeah, shot high, right? So he goes, all right. He goes, I want it nicer. I said, well, then it'll cost more. I said, so where's your car? He's like, oh, I don't have it. I said, okay. He said, well, I said, what model is it? He said, well, it's a Chevy. And he said, it's either a 41 or a 40. And I said, pretty good difference between those two. And he's like, well, I had a 40 Chevy, I think, in high school. I said, okay. I said, well, let me get some pictures and I'll email them to you and you can tell me which model it is. So I email it over. He goes, no, it's definitely a 40. I said, okay. And I'm thinking, oh man, 40 Chevy is it's
not nothing to get excited about. Now that 250 grand is, you get excited, but
yeah. So
how do you make it look good and get other jobs?
You can make it cool. What Dale Bash built?
36.
Was it a 36?
Yeah, it was 2007 or 8. Yeah, black one. Yeah, car. So I thought, okay.
Chevys are all the same from 35 to 50 to me.
Yeah. So we find the car, I go get it, bring it back, and I've got it sitting in my shop. And I was like, man, I think I need a designer. So I started emailing designers that, so, and Eric Black, this kind of, I love the guy, but I did send him an email first that he never replied to. Sorry, Eric. Anyway, so end up going with Jason Rushforth, and he's a good friend of mine. Jason jumps on this, so we start designing this car, and one of the problems is not to offend any 40 Chevy people, but the grill areas.
I already did, so you're good. So I got that out of the way.
Like a 40 Ford is like perfection. Beautiful. And especially, okay, so let me back that up. A 39 Deluxe.
Right.
Oh.
That's the shit, right?
Yeah, 39 Deluxe is good as it gets.
Yeah, that's the car. But if you're going to have a 40, you want a 40 standard, in my opinion.
Right. Yep.
Because I like the girl better, whatever. So start looking at this car and, kind of how you're moving shit around in your shop. So I have boxes kind of stacked in this one place, and I'm walking around this car, and he goes, I want a 40 Chevy, but I want it beautiful. I'm like, oh, my God. So I keep walking around this car, and one day we move these boxes to the front of it, and we just block the front end. I'm walking around, I'm like,
looks good.
Man, that car looks good from the back, like the 3/4 on it, everything. That side profile, that B pillar, that C, the back of it, I could see this, So Jason did a real good job of drawing this, and I kind of was, he's good to work with. So we decided to reshape the whole front of the car. So how do you get paid for all the hours? You don't. And this is a good lesson. And I try, I guess maybe I get a little bit preachy about business, but I realized after this car, I'd put $100,000 worth of my own time into this car. Now, he kept adding stuff to the car, so the project creep was wild. We went from like a 383 stroker to a 525 horse LS, and, we went from like putting Kugel stuff under it, and it had a Morrison under it, so it got pretty out there. And, long story short, we get this car done, and the last 2 months of the build, the last year, we're kind of at odds. And I'm younger. I'm 39 at the time, and I guess I was probably still running off a lot of anger at the time, and then also just ego, pride, whatever. So my idea was like, look, I've already built these other cars. I'm good at this. Just pay me. So I'd send over a bill with maybe, 10 pictures and a little paragraph. Everything's going great, blah, blah, blah. And then,
worked on the car this week, X amount of dollars.
Right. So we get to the end of this, and the customer, who's a great guy, he's just not quite a car guy. He wanted a car, but the difference is, he was kind of, his buddy was having a car built, and he kind of wanted to compete with his buddy, and it's fine. It was a great, it all happened for me, not to me. But I thought it was happening to me that he got mad. And anybody that's ever been in business has probably had someone mad at him. So he got mad, and I kind of thought, well, it's all him. So the last little bit of this car, he wanted to come see it, and I said, no, you can't. Because if you show up, you're going to make me so mad that I can't finish it. And I said, I told you we're debuting in Columbus, and you just need to be in Columbus to see it. So I'd locked my doors and no one was allowed in my shop. So the last month is just insane to try to get this thing done, you know, sleeping on the floor. And it was like the 3rd of July, and we're going to leave on the 4th to go to her dad's to eat. And the upholstery guy had scratched the back window, and it was glued in, and I was trying to polish the scratch out. It was on the inside. I got the car gutted, and I'm so mad I can't even, you know, think. And it's like 3 a.m. I collapse on my floor, and, you know, if you've never yelled at your car or thought you were crazy, maybe you're not going hard enough. And I'm like, fuck this car. I'm not going. And I just fall asleep right on the cement floor in front of my toolbox. And it's like 3 a.m. And then at 6 a.m, I just wake up and I go, oh, I know how to take care of this. I'll put a good guy sticker over it because it's in the lower corner on the outside. No one will ever see the scratch.
Fixed.
It was the glass. Like, honestly, like if it was paint or a fender or something, like, it's a problem. Glass.
Problem solved, right? We're just going to get a good guy sticker. We'll stick it over that. So I start cleaning the car up, get it all ready, you know, get everything packed, get the tools. We go to her dad's house for this barbecue, and everybody's like, oh, 4th of July, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, let's go. We're driving to Columbus that night. So we drive through the night, and I haven't slept for a month. I've put $100,000 worth of my money in this. And so we get up there, and I didn't even tell her, but I thought maybe we'd have a shot at Street Rod of the Year. So we roll in with this 40 Chevy, and I was told later that they put like an all call out on good guys, like, you got to come. Well, it was crazy because
you showed up late, didn't you?
I did.
Oh.
Yeah, I showed up. No, I wasn't late, but I didn't even check the show out enough. I'd never been there. I didn't even check the show out enough to know that everything goes on Friday.
Yeah.
So Thursday night, we're at the kickoff, and there's a monsoon that hits. What year is this? 12. It floods.
Okay.
And we drive this car through a flood. It's got like cinnamon candy paint. And then I never checked the window to see if the window would go up. And the upholstery shop didn't plug the switches back in. So it is
Been there.
It is a downpour. So my son and I have our shirts off, tucked in the door to keep the water from raining in on the leather. And we've got the car aired up, and there's flooded water coming over the running boards. And we were in a hotel that was in a less than safe area.
Been there.
So we get back over to our trailer, and this car is destroyed. Ugh. I have not slept. I drove all night except for one tank of gas. You did drive out a tank of gas. We almost died. But anyway, that truck about hit us. So anyway, I would start cleaning this car up. They go up to the room. This guy comes out of this quick shop, and he goes, hey, dude, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm cleaning this car up. He's like, you're not safe. I said, what? He said, you see those cops? I was like, yeah. He says, the cops are not there to write the hot rodders tickets. You see those guys standing a block on the other side of the cops? I was like, yeah. Because those cops are there to keep those guys from coming down here and killing you. It's like, oh.
Yeah, there's some dicey little areas over there. They cleaned it up quite a bit.
Yeah.
It's better
over the years.
Yeah.
So I pull the car in the trailer. It's like 100 plus humidity now. And I lock the trailer, and I clean the car with a flashlight for about another 3 hours, do the best I can. Go in, collapse, sleep, get up. And my wife's like, are we in a hurry? I was like, oh, no, it's Friday. Nothing's going on, you know. So we go to Wendy's and get some breakfast or whatever, and we're driving up there. We get up there about, I don't remember when they close. I think it's at 10. We get up there about 9 something. I'm driving in with my son. She's pulling the wagon in. And I hear when we park I don't know where I'm at. Like, I've never been to Columbus. So I park the car, and I hear over the loudspeaker, if you're not in the Street Rod of the Year, Street Machine of the Year area in 15 minutes, you don't qualify. I'm like,
where's that at?
No.
Where's that area at?
Yeah. Oh, no. So I call her. I'm like, find the Street Rod of the Year area immediately. It's the most important thing you can do for me. Find out. Call me back. She's like, what? I said, don't ask any questions. Just find out. So I get in the car. My son's in the car. I text Rushforth. I'm like, where is this? He's like, I don't know. So I get the car running, and I just stop. I'm like, God, if you're real,
point me to the fucking pros.
Yeah, just point me that way, please. So I just start driving, And then all of a sudden I'm driving and there's these slides and my wife calls me. She goes, it's on the other side of these slides. I'm like, I can see the slides. So I drive around there. I pull up.
Does Jesus take the wheel plan?
Dude, it was. It was 100%. So the thing was just packed that year and they were closing the barriers and it was Bill Goodwell. And he goes, you're late. I said, I held my phone out. I think it was 9:59. He goes, you got me. They open him up. I drive in and park it.
Bill's good dude.
Yeah.
That was the old dude with the white hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good guy.
He was. So there was no place to park. So they parked me in the middle of everybody. We let the air out of it. We're sitting there trying to clean it. This guy comes up and taps me on the shoulder. I'm like, what, dude? I'm trying to clean here. He goes, oh, I just want to tell you, I'm going to give you a Street Rodder top 10, but I'm not going to put it on the car because I don't want to affect your chances. I was like, oh, okay. So
pretty cool.
We ended up going top 5 and we got that Street Rodder pick and
sometimes those things happen exactly the way they're supposed to happen.
Yeah, it was, and everybody thought I was being dramatic. No, I mean, I just don't know what the hell I'm doing. It was a neat entrance, though, because it was like parting the sea to park the damn thing.
Yeah, but you've been doing it every year since then, though. So I think you know. I'm just kidding. Now you're just being dramatic.
Yeah,
Is that car on your Instagram?
It is, yeah. If you want to
Pull
take a
that
peek
thing
at
out.
it, it's a cinnamon candy looking. Maybe if you go down a ways, keep going. It was that's a picture of it that Josh took, that hood right there. Josh Mishler shot the car, that cinnamon candy one on the left front top. Keep going down though.
Oh, I remember. I think.
Well, you were there because you guys had the little 32.
Oh, okay. With the Roadster or the Coupe?
The Roadster, because Bobby Alloway won with the Vicky, the black Vicky.
Oh, yeah. Man, you got a better memory than me.
Yeah. I just love cars. That's it. Keep going. It's right there. That's it.
Oh, I remember the car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember it's in Super Rod, right?
It was on the cover of Street Rodder. Yeah. Josh shot it.
Yeah.
Right there out in the middle of Kansas on a wheat field. And yeah. So
He came down from Nebraska to shoot that?
no. He was living in Topeka at the time. So
we give him shit all the time.
Yeah, I know. I hear you guys to light him up. So that car, and it's kind of funny. I put $100,000 of my time in it. I wasn't. So the customer shows up, sees the car, and kind of realizes like, oh, okay. And it was pretty cool that like, we did top 5, and it was really good for our relationship because he could see the value in the car. It sounds crazy, but it was just long story. But his buddy kind of got into a bad deal with the shop who built his car, and they got into a lawsuit. So it put some suspicion in his mind that maybe I wasn't doing what I said I was going to do. But then he realized, oh, I was. So we take the car to California. He was cool, and then we showed it a few more times, and it went well. We ended up being in. The point of it is, though, when I got home, okay, so we go out to California, and you think everybody, like in a small town, you think like everybody's watching you, and you think the world's paying attention. So we win at the time they had America's Most Beautiful out there. So a lot of good cars out there. We end up winning it. And so we're coming home, and
you're expecting the parade, right? The ticker tape.
So it the next morning after we got home, I got the car in the trailer. I go down to my shop, and there's one of our old neighbors out on the farm that's waiting in my parking lot. And I'm thinking, he's here to see me. He's coming to congratulate. Yeah. So I get out, and I'm thinking, go walking over there. He goes, hey, Lauren's closed. It's like, yeah. Lauren's my buddy that has a welding shop. He goes, do you think you could weld this part for me?
You know who I am?
Yeah,
I just
coming back from winning those big awards, you're always humbled immediately.
Yeah,
always.
Just chop my legs out from under me. So that car, we get that car done. Well, when you're doing that as a growing shop, there was really nothing in the hopper. I didn't have the next big build. So it was almost like, I wouldn't say I went into a depression, but it's pretty hard to go from that to building
doing some rust repair or
Yeah.
Because you're chasing the next high.
Yeah. So that car with the customer, we kissed and made up. He's a cool guy. We're still friends. And he wrote me a really nice, letter after it was all over. And he's like, man, I just didn't understand what you're doing. So I get this letter and I'm reading it. I'm like, how could you not understand what I was doing? I was like, oh, I never told you.
You were too busy working on the car?
Yeah. So I was like thinking, yeah, this is a problem. So I started developing a system. There was just a point in there, maybe 6 months after that car, where I was kind of depressed. And I was like, I'm either going to do this better or I'm not going to do this at all, because I can't live under the condition of having people mad at me. I just don't like it. So I started thinking about, like, if I was my customer, what would I want? And so I start building a whole system, because it's not like most of these people live by me, because we've already covered that. We're a little remote. So how am I going to do this? So technology's coming along at that point pretty good. It's 2013 or whatever. And I started thinking, okay, what's big right now? Like TV shows, everybody wants to watch car programs. And so I was like, okay, if I was paying someone to do this for me, how would I want to be treated? And then I started thinking, like, what are we really even doing here? If a person wants a car, they can just go buy a car done. They can go to Barrett Jackson and get a car. So the real thing we're doing is providing an experience, and there's a car at the end of it.
Sure.
So I worked all the way backwards to get to the point, and this is just my philosophy on this business, is we're in the business of fun. This is a hobby. And people don't do hobbies when they're not fun. If you stop having fun when you're golfing, you quit golfing. If you stop having fun when you're boating, you quit boating. If you stop having fun when you're shooting guns, you quit shooting guns. If you stop having fun when you've got a car halfway through, that's a freaking problem.
Yeah.
So my job is to make sure that this process is enjoyable. It's the journey. We're going to build this car, but a lot of it is the journey of the car. So I've become, I think almost anybody I work for, I'm really good friends with them.
Yep.
And I really focus most of my energy on making sure we're transparent and making sure they're having fun. So I built this whole system where we started, each one of my guys at that time, they got a digital camera, and they were required to take a certain amount of pictures a day, because I don't have, I didn't have a staff so that does a couple of things. Like when you tear a car down and you take, a couple thousand pictures of it, it's pretty helpful when you're putting it together.
Sure is.
So also the customer can kind of see, they can follow along day by day, picture wise, which is a lot more enjoyable than reading a 7-page invoice where their money went. So what I do is I look at the written work description and the pictures. I create a script on a note card, and then I take my cell phone out and I film a video directed towards the customer, talking to them just like they're standing in my shop. Instead of them having to read it, they can hear it and see it. And I can ask them questions. I can tell them where we're headed. I can tell them what we're thinking. And it's just completely revolutionized my business. We went from having accounts receivable to people just paying us immediately. And just really, knock on wood, no problems, because it's fun again. It's like, who wouldn't want to get 200 pictures of their car and a 10-minute video of what happened in the last 2 weeks before they send you a check for 8 or 10 grand?
Yeah.
So that's my job. Yeah. And I do that pretty good. And then I also will kind of learn about my customers and try to figure out, like, how much they want to interact. Some guys want to interact a lot. Some guys don't. And the ones that do, I'll go over. The easiest place I found was on Snapchat. They've got a huge music library, so I kind of know who they are, what era they're from. And the other day we were working on this little Porsche. We had some situations with the transmission, and it wasn't exactly going well. So I wanted to send him something to kind of, keep the excitement going, because the car's done. It's just that the transmission pops out of second gear, and we've had it to the rebuilder, 2 different rebuilders 4 times. So it's not going well. So I look up, like, I know the guy bought it new. I know he graduated in 74. So I look up top songs of 74, Bachman Turner Overdrive. You ain't seen nothing yet. Pull it up on Snapchat, walk around the car. You ain't seen nothing yet. Send it off to him. He's like, sends me back, damn, that is a banger song. I used to listen to that song when I was driving around that car. Can't wait to get that car. Blah, 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 blah. And it's like
deep.
Yeah. So, and it,
That's that almost history degree.
yeah. So but I want to do that because I want these guys to have fun. So when they're having fun, it's just a better experience overall for all of us. So that's kind of my theory on it. And, you know, it's been since 2013, I've been tweaking that. I've got, you know, stabilizer for my phone. I've got a better microphone. You know, I'm not super fancy, but I try to make it more enjoyable and make it so they want to watch it. And the cool part is now those little videos that I strictly did for my customer, they end up being promotions for their friends. So, oh, you got to see my car. Big Creek's working on it, blah, blah, blah. Look at this video. So, you know, we're walking around looking at it. And so
that's cool.
Cool. Yeah, it works great. A little bit of effort, but it's a lot easier than, you know,
yeah, it goes a long way.
Fighting battles.
For sure.
Talk about the Lincoln a little bit. That thing's coming along.
Yeah. So the guy that owns it, John, great dude, friend of mine. And when we go buy this car, he goes, I'd like to have a Lincoln convertible. I was like, okay, well, we'll start looking.
We've talked about that a bunch on this podcast.
Yeah, we have.
So we're standing at a car show in Scott City, Kansas, and we're standing there talking, you know, yeah, we got to find a Lincoln. We got to find a Lincoln. There's a guy standing there. He goes, you guys want a Lincoln convertible? Like, yeah. So, hell, there's one in my storage unit. This guy has it. I'm sure he'd sell it. It's been there forever. It's like, really? It's like, yeah. Do you know what year it is? No. So call a dude, go look at it. It's been there like since 1977 or something in the storage unit. Nice car. So we buy the thing, and it was a Spanish red, I think they called it. It was kind of a metallic, for lack of a better term, kind of a pinky red.
Yeah.
And we were going to leave it as a patina car because it was pretty nice, you know. So get it to the shop, and we're just going to keep it simple. We're going to hop up the MEL engine somehow. I mean, I don't think they hardly make crap for those motors. And John's there with his wife Jen one day, and she walks by. She goes, "What are you doing with that?" He's like, "Oh, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to do this." She turns around, looks at us, goes, "That car's ugly." John looks at me and goes, "You heard her." I'm like, okay.
That's not something you usually hear about those cars.
Well, she just didn't like the patina idea. So,
okay.
So we kind of started in on it. And then of course I brought it up to you guys. You scanned it, created the chassis, and it's got that big badass, Kazi motor in it. It's a 600. It makes over 900 horsepower.
Jesus.
And then, got Eric Black involved with the design on it. So Eric,
what do you do? Have you got a rendering posted?
No, I really didn't. We're gonna change. We're gonna change the wheels up. It's gonna be a little bit different than how it started off. So
Eric made you change the wheels, didn't he?
No, I just got to thinking that those wheels really don't suit the personality of the interior and the engine compartment of where we're headed. So we'll sell those off and do something else. So Eric went ahead and, you know, we were talking, and I was like, man, I just really want this thing to be more Ford, more Lincoln than like Pro Toured, you know? So he drew this fantastic engine compartment with like all the pieces that he's really cool to work with, because you can call him up and say, here's what I'm thinking, and then he just makes it better, and it's super easy. And then I don't know if you guys have ever worked with him, but he'll send over a little video clip of his artwork. So this thing had like 6 different panels of art, the stages in which you build it. It's just fantastic. Like every piece changed, and it's on a little video, and he set it to like the Black Keys Heavy Soul. So you're just listening to this thing, and it's just like changing this, you're adding this, you're doing this, and you're like, oh my God.
He sells it pretty good.
So you send it over to the customer's like, oh hell yes, let's do that.
He sold it hard.
Yeah, so it just, you know, that's the floor pan in the Lincoln. Yeah, there you go.
Bitching, man.
So that's getting closer. It's changed a lot since then. We've had Thomas at Leading Edge Machinists, quite a few pieces, and he's amazing to work with. Super chill guy, super easy to. He used to work for you guys, but he's fantastic because he's really close to Eric, and those two guys together will work back and forth to perfect the vision. So when the pieces show up, they just flat out work.
Nice.
So he machined us a fantastic air cleaner for that car. It is dynamite.
Who's that? KD Hot Rod says badass. Who's Kate?
We haven't
KD
given
Hot
him
Rod.
shit in
It
a
doesn't-
while. I
Yeah.
was looking at that earlier.
Good old Kenny. I talked to him.
Good opportunity.
I talked to him the other day.
Kenny. I haven't talked to Kenny in a while.
He's.
I just talked to him the other day.
Did you?
Yeah.
I'm
I talked
commenting
to him.
to John Jackson right now.
You're going to reply?
Yeah, I said you sound stupid. He said I'd drive around in the country in a custom painted van taking pictures of the coolest cars on the planet. Oh wait, I need more time in Kansas.
Yeah, he's gonna come by, but
You
no.
sound stupid.
Nice. That's professional. Where did
Yeah,
where'd the metal work come into play?
Okay,
like
so-
you skipped over the whole talent and skills thing.
Sure,
right?
so-
you transitioned from a Mustang that you kind of like put some speed parts on to all of a sudden, boom, you've got that radiator cover. That's some pretty complex shit.
Okay,
The
so
$9.95 books he got in the back of Hot Rod.
yeah.
Should have bought them.
Do you guys remember the Yahoo Metal Shapers group?
Yahoo? No, I don't.
Okay, so this will take you back. Dial-up internet. I'd
Yep.
come home every night after work and pull up the Yahoo Metal Shapers group, and it would be a chain email, and you could ask questions, and
Okay.
people could post replies, and you could post maybe one really small picture. So it predated like
Any forums and stuff?
metalshapers.org
Yeah,
or Metal
Shapers.
Meet.
I remember Metal Meet.
Yeah, so that was
an early
before
one.
that, and then those forums were started by those guys. That's the air cleaner, Thomas Machine, those little knobs for us. So that's where I started, and just Metal Meet, metalshapers.org, talking to different fellas, and then just, I think the truest way to learn metal shaping is just to bang on metal.
So
you
is that your handiwork there?
No, so oddly enough, I've got 3 guys that work for me in the shop, and then I've got Glenn. Glenn is our brain. He's the guy that runs the whole shop, and he's super smart, does parts, location, shipping, receiving.
Okay.
But this kid's name is Michael, and Michael and his dad, Mark, were 2 of the very first people in my shop. His dad was a Pontiac guy, and he rebuilt this 389, and I put this 389 in this 57 Pontiac chassis. So Michael was probably like, I'm thinking 3 or 4, and he came over to my shop with his dad, Mark.
Yeah.
And then years later, I hire Michael when he's 20. He comes out of a transmission repair shop and goes to work for me. Michael did all the metal work on this car. He's 27. He's a badass. That's him right there.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, he is. He's incredible. He's a great kid, super smart, just talented. But I realized a few years back that I was kind of just my ego wasn't allowing me to let these guys thrive. So consequently, I'd have to run around and do jobs for them that they didn't know how to do. And then I thought, man, this is stupid. They work in the shop. We're all a team. So we started doing just some little trainings on Thursday afternoon late. And then I'd just go, kind of explain how the thing worked and just let them go at it. And then if I had to write hours off, that was fine because they were getting better. So Michael's come from never doing anything like that to, he built that radiator cover, and there's actually 2 little pieces that cover the radiator cap and the hose now. He built all of that stuff, and really with minimal input from me.
Yeah.
So his dad, Mark, works for me now, and his dad's building this Nova wagon that there's no pictures on there at all. There's really...
So you planning on debuting that somewhere?
Well,
Just say nothing.
We're teetering
Not a good
on whether
poker
we
face.
can get it done for Detroit or not. So it's something that Rushforth designed. I think I'm excited about the car. It
Detroit coming up?
Yeah.
Though it's that close? It's close enough.
It's
Close enough to
never
push.
that close.
Close enough to push.
So
Sleeping
we're
on the shop
gonna
floor again.
So we're building that car for this guy. He's a great dude, Jim, and Jim's been super patient. The car went through another shop before us, and it didn't go well, and then it came to us, and we started off with design first. Jason designed it, and it's a 2-door 66 Nova wagon. And I guess what I'll say about it, someone asked me the theme of it the other day, and I said the theme is that this guy from Kansas accidentally finds the prototype L79 two-door Nova Sport wagon and decided to pro tour it. So
Nice.
So that's kind of the theme of it. So nice. It's a pretty cool car. I'm pretty excited about it. Mark, his dad, is working on that, has just moved tons of metal on it. Talented guy, just, great human being. And then John, who's my other guy, he's working on the Speed 33, and it's a pretty wild build too. That's the one I had down at the Rock.
Okay, that's a blast from the past. Speed 33.
Yeah,
it's been a while since one of those is surfaced.
That car's got a Kazi 540 in it, and it's a handful. Thomas machined me some really cool wheels, and we got it in bare metal, and I kind of just put a temporary interior in it, and we did the whole Gator or Bust, Gathering at the Rock or Bust thing. Yeah. So showed up down there, and you'll have to ask Eric Black about the ride he took in it. So
that's a lot of motor for a little car.
Yeah, he I think it started off by him telling me that he didn't think those tires were wide enough, and I couldn't hook it up. And I saw
he was right.
No, I mean, you pedal it, that's it right in the upper corner there. So yeah, that's him. So Eric's drawn a lot of stuff on that car. Those are 6-spoke knockoffs.
It's got those dirt track fucking bias plies. Just the way you're hooking that thing up.
No, I mean, the car's not. Ask Eric.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to pedal it, but that thing is legit.
I was gonna say he'd squeal like a little girl, but he's cowboy. he's country.
I think it's a jealousy thing, dude. Honestly, I think it's because he's more badass than you. I think you want to, when you look at yourself or you picture yourself, you're seeing Eric Black, like all the cool that he's got going on. That's what you're seeing, but it's not there for you, which is why I think you constantly pick on him.
That's probably correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we wanted to cut right to the
if you want to be that type of person that just gets right down to the middle, 100%. He's way fucking cooler and better looking than me. Man, you never cease to disappoint.
Right, dude.
It's good having him back, isn't it?
It's fucking awesome.
I missed you guys last week.
I know we did too. Not.
Yeah. So Johnny that works for me, he's a local kid. He's the guy that I bought the 3-speed transmission from his dad, and he came to work for me, and he had some bodywork skills, and then he just dove right into the metal work, and he built a gas tank on that car, which it still kind of blows my mind. He just did such an amazing job. It's 80 thousandths half hard. He shaped the ends, the sides. He built these really cool little mounts, and he built a whole firewall. That car is pretty customized for Speed 33. So, and Eric just got done drawing the interior, and it's really cool. So I haven't posted a lot of stuff. I'm not a social media wizard. If you go over there and you see my social media, I think I got like maybe 2,000 followers. And I was talking to Phil today at lunch about it, and he's like, "Oh yeah, this guy, blah blah blah. He's relatively unknown." I was like, "He's got more followers than I do, but I don't really consider that like a."
Yeah, it's hard to it's not a popularity contest.
I'm not striving for it because So,
well, dude, you got 2191 right now as the time of this airing. Australia and New Zealand alone, we're going to take you to at least 2,200.
Yeah,
by one weekend, easily.
Well, so I got 2191 there. I also own Verified Fabrication.
Okay, Verified Fabrication.
Yeah, that's a wheel simulator. It's a stainless steel one. So I did that to basically I just wanted a tool that went in and out of a tire really, really fast so I could move them around the shop. Super simple to use. So that one I think I have more followers on. And it's funny because now people know me for that. And which, it's kind of cool. Yeah, that's it right there.
Hey, look at this.
How many you got there?
You're at 2538. 2539. We just followed breaking fucking news.
So that's been an interesting piece because you guys had Troy on with his parts business.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
look at that good looking guy down there.
Yeah, that's Roger.
This guy?
Yeah,
that guy?
Going.
Look at him. Look at it.
That's my dog Cammy. Camshaft is her name, really. Cammy. Yeah, that's Roger. So I sponsor Roger's Ironworks class with Verified. So I give a tool away every class he does. And I really believe in the class. That's on Kindig's car.
Fuck that car.
Dude,
It's so good.
that car. My God. Yeah. Pretty crazy. Yeah, that's my Speed 33. When we have small slides that we sell too. They go from 4 to 6 inch for the smaller tires, just so you can look at the car. You know, so
That's just grabbing the bead and
Yep.
then bolting to the hub.
Yep.
Can you put weight on it?
No.
Is there in and out adjustment?
There is. Yeah, you can go on the standard kit. You can go from 7 to 11 and a half. And I sent that kid some stickers. That's a mobile car in Australia. And he's like, man, could you send my kid some American speed stickers? I couldn't find anything. So I sent him some Hot Wheels cars too. And good dude, good builder. But yeah, so you can go from 7 to 11 and a half. And then there's extension slides that'll go from 12 to 16 and a half. And then there's little ones. And the tool will go from 15 to 24. So yeah, Verified was a side venture that just kind of happened. I had built some for myself to see all of my tires on a car in the shop, so I could set it at ride height and just look at it with the tires and work on it without having to worry about having wheels in it. And I don't post a lot on Instagram. My Instagram is like, oh man, I haven't posted anything for a while. Crap, I'm gonna have to post something. All right, I'll post this. So that's the theory. So I posted that on my Big Creek, and I had like 5 different builders DM me and I only had 200 followers at that time, and most of them were just my friends that were builders. Hey man, where'd you get that thing? Sell me that thing. And I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't sell these things. I just build cars. Well, sell me yours. I don't want to sell it. I just got done building it. So then they're like, well, so like the 8th or 9th builder said, sell me that. And I'm like,
it's a good looking piece. Are you sending those through a time saver? They're all brushed and shit.
Yeah, I do all that myself. So those are all tumbled.
Okay.
They're lasered out of stainless, and then they're tumbled to soften them, and then they go through a time saver, and then I brush them with just a rotary brush, like one of those Bosch tools. So yeah, they kind of look nice, and it's, you know, when you get into building something, it's way more than what you think it's going to be to create all of it. So there's not only is there, I'll just get a website. Okay. Now you got to have payment forms. So you got to go do all that. Now you got to make sure your website has authority where, you know, people can actually click on it and not have it go, hey, this is untrusted. And then you've got to have SEO. Then you've got, you know, so you got to do branding. You got to do logos. So you do all these things. And then we're working on our packaging right now because our packaging has been substandard. And I realized that. And so all these
stuff.
Yeah. So it's like I wouldn't recommend it for like people starting out to try to have a product line. I mean, you can, but it's
the product is the easy part sometimes.
It pulls your attention away from building cars.
The product is like, shit, we got the product.
Yeah.
As much or more work to then sell it.
To do something with the product.
We talk about that internally all the time, like little things. I mean, the packaging, the shipping, the receiving, the tech, the marketing. There's a lot.
There's a lot to it. It's complicated and it's involved. I think you can sum up my business plan. There was a meme that was floating around one time that said, we don't do this because it's easy. We did this because we thought it would be easy.
yeah, certainly not easy.
It seems easier than it.
Before we get into standard questions, we got to talk about the Pantera. That's the heavy. That's the heavy.
That's the heavy.
Because I like Panteras. So.
Yeah.
Jeremy's a big Pantera guy.
So the Pantera came about just having customers with, you know, having conversation with customers. And one of my customers one time mentioned that, you know, he'd really like to do a Pantera. He had a friend that had a Pantera, and I love Panteras. There was a guy when I was really young that had a really badass Pantera, and you just can never forget that sound. Yeah. It's just like, okay, you know, and so I was sitting at home and one of my other customers called and he goes, hey man, there's a Pantera over here at this auction, you know, in a couple of days. You got anybody that might be looking for something like that? I was like, oh yeah, as a matter of fact, I do. So I call John. I'm like, hey man, there's Pantera at this auction. He's like, is it good? I said, yeah. He said, yeah, we should probably get it. Okay. So we get it. And of course, we started looking at just doing something kind of more mild. And then he's like, man, I think this thing should have like 1,000 horsepower. And I was like,
It's a lot for a little car.
okay. I was like, well, so you go out and you look at all the options available for, chassis and suspension stuff, and you realize all the inherent weaknesses of a Pantera. And then I call him, I'm like, dude, it's Roadster Shop. He's like, all right. So contact Eric and say, okay, we're going to do this Pantera, and here's our parameters. We want a real vintage piece. We want something that's just like a love letter to Ford racing in 1971, GT40-esque type race car.
Yep.
And he's like, okay. He goes, what else? And I'm like, man, my customer just told me you're the artist. Go wild. Do what you do if, the gloves are off. So
yeah,
he drew us that car. I think you guys have seen it. It's
yeah, that's cool. I mean, he like tweak some proportions and stuff.
Oh yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. It'll be a pretty extensive build. And then we've got that GT40 engine out of a 2006 GT40, having it built right now. The guy's telling me it's going to be like 1150 at the tire. That's
yet another guy that he doesn't necessarily have a GT40, but he has a GT40 drivetrain. So
Yeah, so that's the
like
2006. That's the second
just-
gen
yeah.
GT.
just about every podcast. No,
Yep. So
good motor.
So that motor with the Ricardo box, that's all worked over, and then Eric's design, which is going to be a really vintage type piece. None of the more modern pro touring treatment. Just it's going to be like a love letter to Ford racing in the early 70s. So,
It's just, it's such a beautiful car.
yeah. Yeah, it's pretty exciting to think about building that. I mean, sometimes I walk in my shop and I'm like, we're in the middle of Kansas, dude.
Yeah.
You walk in there in the morning, it's like you look around, you're like, what the hell?
Where did you find that customer? Or where did he find you?
So it's kind of funny how all that works. It's just a thin thread, so almost everything that you do matters for the next thing that you're going to do. So building the 39 Mercury allowed me to build the 40 Chevy. And then I built a car for my buddy that was a Street Rodder top 10 thing. And when I got the 40 Chevy done, it had won, it got some attention. So my buddy with the little cars at a party one night at a class reunion, and he's talking, and this guy's like, man, got this car I want to get done, but there's nobody in Kansas worth a shit. And he's like, my buddy is. He's like, oh, I don't know. He goes, well, here, look at this. And at that time I'd had, a few cars that were featured. So he's showing him all the Street Rodder cars that were in there. And he goes, and then he just built this car. It was America's most beautiful, blah, blah. He goes, in Kansas? He's like, yeah. He's like, no way. He goes, yeah. He goes, I'm going to go talk to him. So that's how it happened. It's just word of mouth, weird deal. Crazy. And then I've built, I want to say 12 or 13 cars for that guy.
Really?
And the one car we should probably talk about, because it's Jason at Hot Rod Garage's favorite car I think I've built, is the Chevette.
The Chevette?
You built a Chevette?
Oh, should have led with that.
I have not seen it.
So
Is it on your Instagram?
It might. Yeah, there's somewhere. It's mint green. It's a 4-door sport.
They built 4-door Chevettes?
They did. Yeah.
I
So
had-
this
They're the more
happens to be
desirable, rare ones.
This happens to be John's wife Jen's car. So this car ended up being like a passion project, and we just got a
A
little
passion
weird.
project for who?
So it was her first car. Her dad gave it to her when she was in high school, and her dad passed away when she was relatively young. So it was something that she had.
Okay.
For him.
My
I
dad gave me
apologize.
a
And
91 fucking LeBaron.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a passion project. It's not
You're-
coming back.
Could be.
So
You've
she
talked
had,
about it multiple times about doing a LeBaron.
Yeah.
So stop it.
I'm joking.
No, you're not.
Right?
You
So
built
this particular car, she drove it to college, and just had a lot of memories in that car with her friends and high. There it is.
It is.
And so
I've never seen one of
yeah,
those.
so that car.
Not mad at it.
No, not either.
They found that when they were walking to a football game one day in their hometown. Some little guy bought it, and he just tooled around in it. He had it sitting in his garage, and it was pretty nice. So they're like, oh, Jen wants her car back. So she buys it. He calls me on the phone one day. He goes, dude, I need someone. Can you recommend someone to do this Chevette? I'm not going to ask you to do it. I was like, hell, I'll do it. He's like, you will? I was like, yeah, I'll do it. Ain't no big deal. For you, I'll do it. So we were just going to paint it and kind of fix it. And so I call him one day. I said, hey, I found a guy that's going to do our engine, you know, all 43 horsepower of it. And he's like, okay, cool. So hang up the phone. And I mean, it's like 4 minutes later, he goes, is that thing only 43 horsepower? I was like, yeah, I think that's what the rating is on it. He's like, man, that's bullshit. We got to do something. He goes, figure out something cool. I was like, what do you mean? He goes, just do something nobody's done. So we put a
Chevette 4-door.
Yeah, so we put a 2.0 Cadillac turbo motor with a 6-speed in it. It's got a it's got a 10 bolt with a torque arm that we built that comes.
I bet that thing's fun,
dude. It is terrifying. So we start. It's 1,700 pounds. So we start playing with this car, and you know how hot rodders are. Where it's like more. So we're rolling on this thing. I take it to Wichita Dyno. We get it on the dyno, and this thing's making like over 400 now.
To the wheels.
Yeah, it's 30 something. It's like 30 something. It's insane. So I leave, and we're trying to get the tranny tuned. So Chris calls me. He goes, dude, we got to do something about this car. And I'm like, what? He's like, it's dangerous. He's like, none of us want to drive it anymore. I was like, what are you talking about? He goes, it is dangerous. He goes, look, it's like low 9-second capable with the weight. And I'm like, oh shit, let me call John. So I called John. I go, dude, they're telling me this car's dangerous. And he's like, we're not turning it down. He goes, I was like, they're telling me like nobody wants to drive it. And he drives like a 10-second GTO every day. He's like, well, you go drive it. And if you tell me to turn it down, we'll turn it down. I was like, okay. So I go down there. He's like, be careful. It's like, okay. So take a car. It's like on abandoned road. And I was really paying attention to the transmission because it wasn't shifting quite right. So now it's a 6-speed. So I get out on the road and I'm kind of going easy. Da, da, da. I was like, wow, this thing's working good. He did a good job, you know? So I roll up to the stoplight. It's kind of an abandoned street. So I was like, okay, let's see what this thing does from a get. Well, it just blows the tires off of it and goes nuts. And, you know, the thing sounds like a stock Chevette about 20 seconds after you start it because the wastegate closes. When you start it, it's, you know, and then closes. So get on it. It's like, damn, this thing's stupid. So I turn around and I'm coming back to a shop and I'm rolling along about 65 mile an hour. I'm like, I wonder what this thing does on a, you know, let's just whack it here on a roll. And I'm like, oh shit, where'd those buildings come from that are in front of me? And then I look out the window and the road is beside me. Like at 70, it just completely sideways.
Wow.
And the hit was so, I was like, I get back to the shop and I'm like, I don't know what the hell's wrong with you guys. You should have turned this thing down. Somebody's going to die. So we turned it down. I think it's setting at about 260.
So that's the finished car?
That is. That's it. Yeah. So
what's it for a tire on the back of it?
It's got a cheater. It's got a drag radial under there. And it's insane. The car has a custom interior. It's really cool. It's fantastic. It's like a nickel weave vinyl. It's got a banging ass sound system in it. She took it out and drove it around with her friends on like their reunion. And I mean, it's got like a 10-inch with 1,000 watt. I mean, that's badass.
I normally don't ask this because it's not, you know, in our industry, it's a stupid question.
How much?
Yeah,
it's a lot. Yeah, he told me one day, he's like, "This is dumb," but it's her favorite car. Like she's got Corvettes and stuff like that, and she's like,
really is awesome.
Yeah. It is cool.
And it's a piece from her dad. I mean, how do you replace that? So,
yeah.
I've never seen that car before. I mean, I know what a 2-door Chevette is, but honestly, it's pretty cool.
It's
So
actually
four-door-
so hilarious to drive.
4-door Chevette. Funny story. My very first Bagels and Locks was acquired by riding in James Meffen's, my buddy in high school. Yeah, in 10th grade.
Okay.
He had a white 4-door Chevette with maroon interior.
Yeah.
Yeah. His dad ran a Montessori school, and then he went to our school. And, yeah, he's like, we're going to get breakfast. And he's like, we're going to get Bagels and Locks. Like, I don't know what that is. And he explains it, and I was like, I don't think that sounds good. And then I got it, and I was like,
pretty good.
Pretty damn good.
What is a lock?
No power steering. Bagels and Locks?
Yeah, I don't.
Salmon.
That's salmon on top of cream cheese and bagel.
I don't think that sounds good.
That was a great story.
I said the same
Thank
thing.
you for
It
sharing.
was.
It's a deep pull.
It's just.
No,
He gives all types of Keith Krasny stories. I can't give a James Meffin story. What's wrong with that?
How's it get turned back to me? How's it can get turned back to me?
Because he's making fun of me.
So you're going to pivot to me?
I'm saying,
a fucking ping pong ball. Like,
yes, 100%.
Yeah,
right
so
back to me.
If you can do it, I can do it. I can tell a story.
Yeah, I liked your story.
Oh, see, he liked my story.
it was kind of fun to build the Chevette because they're Chevette forms, and Chevettes are huge in Southern America. Like, they're a big deal. And, and
They were Spartan on the interior.
They are. This one's pretty trick. Under the hood, it's really nice too. I don't know if I've posted a picture of it, but it's really cool.
I'd love
in
to
it.
see more pics of that.
Yeah, I just don't know if I did.
It's crazy. You'd think it's
my
something that you would
social
definitely
media-
be.
My social media is not that good.
The two-door was a huge following in the drag race community back in
Yeah,
like the 70s
yeah.
and 80s.
Vega was still better than the Chevette, though.
That Chevette attracts a lot of attention. When you take it to a car show,
I'm
that's
sure.
on my buddy's car, Corey. That's his 34 Ford. So that's just a motor mount I built one day when I was bored. I just thought it would be
nice-
kind of fun.
Wow.
Nice grinder work.
Thank you. Yeah, he's got a 312 Y block in it with a McCullough supercharger. I built a bracket for the front of the motor that's really cool that pulls the supercharger over under the hood so it all fits and it doesn't look like anything's going on. So
That's cool.
Yeah, he's a cool guy.
Yeah, you got some cool shit going on over there.
Yeah, we've been pretty fortunate. Can I do it on the gas at this point since I screwed up the front of this?
I think we should. It's been a minute since
It's
we've
been a
actually
long time.
done that.
It's been a
so-
long time since we've done it on the gas. I think that we'll allow it.
Yeah, we'll bring it back.
Yeah, will we allow
Okay.
it?
I'll allow it.
We'll allow
because I actually completely forgot about it, so I like it.
Well, I'd like to do it for Sanders Street Rods. This guy's name is Josh. So pull
Josh
him
Sanders.
Yeah. So,
Why do I know that? I know
So
that.
he called me one day out of the blue, and he's like, "Hey man, can I pick your brain on your verified fabrication marketing?" I'm like, "Okay, but I'm a terrible marketer." And he's like, "No, I love your stuff. So click on that little first pinned one. That's a latch to take a blazer top off."
It's a
And
cleat.
then it is. And then look at his hold downs for the blazer there. He built those. Those are all CNC'd at his shop. So he's a really talented guy. He made some really cool Coyote covers for the engine. And he's just doing some cool stuff. But I thought it was kind of cool that a young guy would just call someone out of the blue and ask for advice. And I was kind of like, that's a driven guy. Those taillights right there for a 68 Challenger or Charger, they actually are exhaust tips, I think is what he said. Maybe I got that wrong.
I've met him,
Where have
yeah.
and it's been a while.
I've never met him.
Man, I feel bad even saying it because I think it was Seaman, but I can't. There's a connection there, and I can't put my finger on it.
I mean, I'll say
we follow him.
That's a great fucking product. I've taken a buddy of mine's got a 70 Blazer, and I had to bring it to him, and he's like, "Pull the top off before you bring it to me." It's like fucking 75 pieces of hardware.
Yeah,
and then I'm fortunate because I have a shop that has cranes in it, so I could take it off by myself. But
I just
a good
put
idea.
the top on my K5, my 72 for the winter, and
Yeah.
you forget how heavy that damn thing is and how many
how many
fasteners
buddies
hold.
does it take to put it on?
It took 5 of us.
Yeah, right.
But I just thought I wanted to give this guy a shout out because he was bold enough to call a guy. And I guess maybe if I made mistakes, maybe I wasn't friendly enough or maybe I was too proud to like call people that were in the industry and just ask for help. And this guy called and he's like, "What do you think?" Yeah, those are those valve covers. He also makes that really cool you drill it clamp for those lines. He's got some cool products and he's
some neat
building some
stuff.
cool stuff, but I just wanted to give him a little on the gas there.
It's crazy when you think of like the amount of talent out there. I mean, when you think
look at
you've
those.
seen it all on Instagram, and then like, I mean, this pops up.
Yeah.
I've never come across this guy's Instagram.
Yeah,
page,
you should
but
give him a follow because he's
Very
really
cool
he's
shit.
doing some cool shit. He's a real young guy, got a young family, and he's just
Scroll up. Is that his wife?
yeah, I think that is. Yeah, that might be her. Yeah,
He's going places, and he's
yeah, I think he's got.
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
Unfucking
his
believable.
you drill it clamp.
he's got it all.
kit.
He's got it's a total fucking package.
What do you mean?
He's just he's on the gas, man. Good for him. He's got
Good for him.
Nice stuff going on.
Good grief. On the gas, honestly needs to be brought back. We've talked about it.
Yeah.
I think that, especially we're having a lot more guests coming in.
Got to spread the love.
100%
Yeah, we do.
need to do.
We let that one
Henry
slip through
did
the
an
cracks.
off the gas one time.
He did. That was an emotional roller coaster.
Yeah, that was.
I'd
rather
I'll
not
just
do
do
that
a
again.
real quick one. This guy's still alive, but I'd like to say hey to Ron Kester from Glade, Kansas. He was a guy that was kind of a pioneer out there in Kansas that showed us the way. He was a custom car builder when I got into it. Pretty big deal. He's retired now, but he did some cool stuff.
I mean, give all the shout outs out. That's basically what this podcast has became. It's just a shout out fest, right? So just give the shout outs to everybody. Jeremy's obviously great. Anybody you want to give a shout out to?
It wasn't a shout out. It was an off the gas.
Maybe Sanders is.
Why don't you make the
maybe
gas-
Sanders Street Rod's wife? You want to give a shout out while we're
Why don't you insult the guests more, Josh?
No, I'm not insulting.
Make everybody feel uncomfortable.
When will everybody know about the Nova? Is that when they show up to Detroit?
Yeah.
Hey,
Potentially, yeah.
I like that style.
Well, I don't know. You know, the Ring brothers are so cool how they keep everything like.
That's because they don't know how to use social media. They don't do that on purpose.
They're better at it than I am. But like their reveals are so much fun because you don't know. And I remember like when I was coming up, you'd go to a car show. I'll never forget. Like I showed up at Kansas City and Dave Lane showed up with Phil Becker's Mustard 32.
Huh?
And there's those cars where you walk up on and you're like, what
Yeah, that's a good car.
is this? And it's like Eric from Pinky's when he dropped Loaded on the world.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
One of my favorite.
You can't
cars.
even.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like it changes how you think.
Yeah, Loaded's one of the few. That and the G-Force Cuda are probably
Yeah.
two
So
of the cars that will forever be
Loaded
embedded in my mind.
the Rodder's Journal.
yes, bare
Yeah,
metal.
the bare metal.
Eh,
That was just such a different car that
That's
came out of
metal
nowhere.
porn.
I think I looked at it more than actual porn.
I agree. Yeah, 100%. But
And
there
that's
were
saying something.
cars that just like you didn't even know they were coming. You didn't know they were being built, and then they drop, and you're like, "What is that?" And Ring Brothers are good at that.
Yeah, the Rings definitely have a strategy
Yeah,
with it for sure.
I think that from quality level and execution, Johnson's Duesenberg.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. That's
That's-
the car that
it flies under the radar.
You kind of forget about it, but that's a
Yep.
that car's
Being
a
at
fucking
Detroit
banger.
when it debuted,
Jesus,
with
is that
thing.
car nice?
there's so much shit. Oh, you
Yeah.
forget about Poteet's sedan too,
yeah.
the
So
black one.
So the
It's-
yeah. If
when you
start
start
talking-
actually thinking
Yeah.
about cars, it's
Yeah.
funny how though after a while you're like, man, there's nothing been like. When's the last time anything cool's been done?
Well,
and then
it was like I guess maybe I don't know. Maybe they showed it, maybe they didn't. But I remember showing up at Grand National in 12, and Troy had the Torino there in bare metal. And you walk up to that car, you've never seen it, you don't know it exists. And you're like, what kind of a spaceship is this? And you just start looking at it, and you're just like, oh man, maybe I should just quit.
Yeah, Troy has
that was all Adam though. That's
No,
the
that
cool
was-
part we've learned.
Back then, it was Levi.
Levi.
Levi did.
Oh,
that.
Levi on the Torino.
Yeah. But there's just cars that, so the Nova's kind of maybe, I don't know that it, I'm not saying that we're the Trino or that, but it's something that we're keeping under wraps because
That's the thumbnail for the episode.
What's that?
Big Creek says they're better than the Torino. Come to Detroit
No. I did not say that.
That
No, I did
it
not
with
say
him in
that.
his jacket.
No.
with the blue jacket.
I'm not, yeah, with my blue
come full
Mustang
circle.
jacket. Yeah. Thank you guys. I appreciate it.
You brought it up.
Yeah, that's great.
You've listened to these before, haven't you?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not exactly
it's
the
not a
safe
safe
place.
No, it's not. I will go on record saying I never said it was going to be better than anybody's car. Just something we're excited about.
I'm
Yeah, I'm looking forward
I'm
to
anxious to
seeing
see it. Yeah.
Yeah, you got some cool stuff coming down the pipeline, man. I'm looking forward to
Yeah,
some of those
Thank you.
debuts.
should be fun.
Standard question time.
Okay.
We'll go with the easy one. Best movie. Best car movie.
Well, let me tell you what Melba Toast is packing here. We got a 411 Positive track out back. We got
Edelbrock
750
intake.
double pumper Edelbrock intake,
11 to 1
pop-up pistons, board 30 over, turbo 390 horsepower. We're talking some fucking muscle.
I know you got that thing out of a comic book, man.
Yeah,
I saw the ad.
you need to get some tires on this. Those are pizza cutters. That's white lightning.
Yep, that's a fucking good one.
Yeah, so I love that because that was kind of the era we when I was growing up, all those muscle cars were around. We were talking about this on the way up here because like I was teetering on James Bond because I love the Bond cars, like Goldfinger when they're in that, you know, they're driving the Austin and the Mustang, and then they crush the brand new Ranchero with the dead guy in it.
Don't mention the movie. I think it's gonna be funny not to even say the movie that he just made the reference of, because
if you don't get it,
there's gonna be people out there like, what movie? They never said the movie.
Right.
Yeah,
if you don't get it.
Well, and even the last one, the last Bond movie where he's in the Austin, she's betrayed him, and then they pull into the center and they stop, and that guy's shooting the window, bam, bam.
Yeah, that's
What's your favorite Bond?
Well, Sean Connery is
good.
the
Original, the Bond,
right,
the Bond.
Yeah, I mean, Daniel Craig is the other coolest one, but Sean Connery was just like, I mean, come on, man. I mean, Diamonds Are Forever was in the running because that Mach 1, you know, Leroy's got him. There goes that son of a bitch and saboteur, and they're chasing him around downtown Vegas in that Mach 1, and then...
Think she calls him D?
What?
Remember we're at the wine tasting.
I was going to bring that up, but I didn't know if it was appropriate, you know. It's all I could think about the entire time she was talking about that was Sean Connery being interviewed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, Sean Connery...
You can tell the story.
You can tell it.
You can tell it.
I've said enough things that need to be edited out.
Yeah,
so
we go to the next story or next question.
Oh, this one we'll keep it. I'll tell the story, so it'll keep it. We went to Napa for a couple of days right after SEMA. We flew out, met our wives there, right? You know, take a couple of days off, and my wife's birthday is always the week of SEMA. So kind of a little makeup thing.
It's a great area.
So we're there. For my first time there, Jeremy and his wife have been there a couple of times. So we're great little wine tasting. Lady comes out, really fucking awesome. We talked about it because even when you talked about it, you're selling the experience, right?
Yeah.
It was less about the wine that we were drinking and more about the experience that she was giving us. And she did a really, really good job. There towards the end or whatever, you know, we'd have a few of them, and she starts talking about her favorite thing was watching Bond movies, right? She said, I've got a different wine for if it's a Daniel Craig or if it's a Sean Connery thing, right? And she starts going through it, and then the girls are giving her a hard time about, you know, how many wines before you start calling him, you know, D or something like that, and so she's talking about Sean Connery takes a certain wine. Well, yeah, it was funny. They were laughing, and then Jeremy said that based on the videos that have came out on Sean Connery and what he does to a woman, I don't know if she would be.
Have you heard that video?
Yeah.
Where Sean's like, sometimes you got to give him a little bit of a crack. You slap him a little bit. You're like, Jesus.
Yeah.
It doesn't align with my beliefs, you know, but that was fucking crazy. But it was running through my mind, obviously.
Yeah, 100%. It's funny. Well. We were all laughing.
Yeah.
All right, next up. Best piece of advice you've ever received?
I've thought about this quite a bit.
I know. I don't like the fact that you've prepared.
Well,
I like to
my
hit you with something.
dad always said, you never do anything, you'll never fuck anything up. So that was a way of saying, like, just move. You know, if you can't steer a parked car, but you can always change direction. You screw something up, go the other way. So he was always in motion, and he taught me a lot by how he, just there was never anything that he couldn't overcome. It didn't matter what happened. You know, get mad about it, cuss at it. 5 minutes later, now we need a solution. So just watching that and feeling that growing up, it transferred into business, and it's like, okay, you're not happy when things go wrong, but you know, throwing a fit and sitting there for 2 weeks crying about it doesn't make it go right. You just got to go to work, fix the problem. And then I had trying to think there. That's probably the best piece of advice I ever got. The one I heard the other day that was kind of funny was I heard kind of a similar thing. You know, it's okay to step on your dick, just don't stand on it.
That's pretty good.
It's like you can make a mistake, but don't stay there. Move.
I'd like to be able to step on it.
It is funny. I got to share this.
It's gonna be good.
Yeah.
I can tell.
It's a good one because I think about you're talking about most guys share a story about what their father's advice was,
Right.
what they gave him. So I'm thinking about like my son. What's Wyatt gonna say?
Oh, jeez.
Like 20 years from now, right? And all I can think about, I think I'm a pretty good father. I think I raised
It's
him
nice
well.
of you to think that.
But we had a situation recently. I had to put a tire and a tube on the mini bike, right? Little KTM. You ever put a fucking tire on a mini bike?
Yeah.
Were you struggling with it?
Oh, was I? Yeah.
And he was watching.
And he was watching. And it
You're
got,
not gonna-
it got to
you're not
the
gonna let
point,
it get you.
Dad was not fucking happy, right? And all that's going through my mind is this thing is kicking my
Was
ass.
it the? You got the tube. You couldn't get the beat over, or you couldn't get the
It's just
tube
the
in the
whole
hole.
fucking shebang,
I got you.
dude. It's the whole fucking shebang, right? It's a tiny little tire and to work that thing off. And I'm thinking, I'm like, dude, I have built the craziest fucking cars. And I'm like, now I'm in my head. And I'm like, I can't get this motherfucking tire seated on the. Don't laugh because you've
I've
tried
done
to
it
do
too,
it before,
yeah.
right? It's the hardest thing in the
He
fucking
didn't have some
world.
homework to do while you were finishing that.
So it got to the point, I'm getting pissed off, and I know what direction this is going. So I'm like, dude,
It's getting tossed.
go in the house. I wouldn't even look at him because I was so ashamed. I'm like, just go inside. I'm like, Dad's pissed. Go inside.
Wow.
And I got so fucking irritated with it. Throw the fucking tire, bend the sprocket on it because I pulled the whole thing's off with the sprocket.
How bad did you destroy the rim?
The rim's fucked, right? But I go inside and I'm pissed. Right?
No bike ride today.
And I'm walking downstairs. My wife's already in bed. It's late. And I got home from work late and I had to get this done. Walk home. She's like, I'm walking in the house. She says something. Don't even fucking talk to me. Get in bed. I'm laying in bed like this. And I'm so fucking irritated, right? Because I do not like the fact that I didn't get the job done.
Mm-hmm.
So I lay in bed. It's probably, at this point, it's probably 11 o'clock at night. And I'm sitting there. I cannot sleep. Throw the fucking covers up. Get out of bed. Go back out to the garage at like 11:30 at night. Finish. Straighten the sprocket out. Get the thing done. Get the tire on. Get it back together and finish the fucking job. But what's the advice? Like, what's he gonna say?
Don't quit.
Yeah.
I didn't tell him that part. Just when he got up the next day and he saw because we were going to the track the next day and he wanted his sister to go.
Yep.
So his sister was riding the little bike, and he was kind of like he was devastated because he saw it wasn't happening, right? And I'm go in the house, son. Go in the house.
Yeah, but
Dad's
you-
about to have a
you
fucking
taught-
meltdown.
Dude, even though you melted down, it's like you didn't quit. That's
Yeah.
what you taught him.
Right.
And I mean, that's like the number one survival skill in business.
Yeah.
Just don't quit.
Oh, you're right.
I've seen a lot of guys come into this and they'll be like, oh, I'm going to, and then when the going gets tough, they're done.
Yeah.
So
Get your ass kicked every
I've
single
fought
day.
some major battles. I never thought that would be one of them.
I can remember standing in my shop at like 3 a.m. and the cops show up. And they're like, we got to report you're living here. You can't live in a commercial building. I was like, does it look like I have a freaking life? I'm working. Don't quit.
Yeah.
Right.
No matter what.
Yeah. The no quit. I mean, that's
the
You
only-
didn't quit. That's what you taught.
That's the only thing that you have control over.
That's right.
That's the thing. Somebody is always going to have more skill. Somebody's going to always be more smarter.
Yep.
Or more. See,
Yeah. 100%.
there's three people in here right now that are more smarter than me, right? But the thing that you can control is mind over matter and just keep fucking going, because your body is always going to say quit 75% sooner than you can actually quit. Until you fucking actually pass out, until you actually die, until you actually stop breathing, until you actually can't walk,
Yeah.
you can keep going. It's going to be hard. It's going to be painful.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be shitty.
Yeah. But I mean, I think you taught him like the master life skill.
Yeah.
He woke up the next morning. He's like,
It's done. It was
man,
fixed.
Dad got mad, but we're going to the track.
Yeah. Right.
He didn't
Elves
quit.
came in overnight and got it done.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's perfect.
There's probably other stories he's going to tell too.
Me?
Yeah. I'm not
Why?
bad stories.
Yeah. I got good stories.
All kinds of stuff you taught him how to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I've been a decent role model. I'd hope.
Well,
that's
Yes,
all of our jobs.
I'm giving you a compliment.
Thank you. I appreciate
Yeah, but
it.
it's basically what my dad said. If you don't ever do anything, you don't ever mess anything up.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
I mean,
you messed it up, but you fixed it.
Right.
You didn't quit.
I remember it as a kid too. My dad, I worked in the garage with my dad always. And he had a very short temper, would you say?
You learned how to
Tools-
string 15 swear words together.
Tools were
talent.
Tools were flying, but it always got done.
It is an art form.
There was a temper tantrum.
Most of them were never finished. Just, this motherfucker, God, son of a cock, motherfucker.
Like, I don't think that's possible. Wait a second. Back that up.
When
There's a few things that I
dodging
learned.
wrenches.
A couple things I learned. I'd say that obviously from him it was the never give up. Have your meltdown and get back at it. And the other one that I learned is that a cigarette ash dropped into your gas tank, like a mini bike gas tank, will not light it on fire.
No, because it's not the
Okay.
gas; it's the fumes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Everybody that
Yeah.
smokes knows that. That's why you can.
I remember,
That's why you can smoke filling up a gas can. Just don't do it around your.
that cigarette was in the most dangerous places ever, and I'll never
not dangerous for a
the
smoker.
cigarette hanging with an ash like this big while he's working on something, and just right in the gas can.
Yeah, it's no big deal.
It just sizzles. It doesn't light it on fire.
If you're
those are
gonna
two-
smoke, you gotta be a man. Don't let some gasoline be in your fucking way.
two life lessons.
There's nothing more hardcore than standing there filling the truck up with a cigarette half lit. People walk,
You've
drive.
gotten yelled at several times on road tours.
Oh, 100%. People driving through, plugging in their Tesla. What are you doing? Smoking a cigarette with gasoline. Yes, that's kind of cool shit I do. You mean to pop off a couple fucking rounds?
Yeah, you guys need to put that on your merch. Josh is smoking by one of your cars.
I got a bald eagle on a chain. He's my fucking pet.
America.
Oh, that's good shit.
That's going to be the thing that gets me. You're always trying to figure out the one that takes me down. That'll be it. All right. Favorite law enforcement interaction story?
Whew. So just
One
to
of the
preface
favorite.
this, when I said I didn't actually propose to her, I just said, "Hey, you think we ought to get married?" She's like, "Okay, but you can't get any more tickets." So I had a lot. I'd done some stuff. So
My wife told me the same thing.
this could be there's a bunch of them, but this one's probably the leader. So my 66 Mustang. This thing is wild, dude. I mean, I've got the chief of police. I've got the on-duty officer. I've got the school board president. I've got a school board member. I've got an attorney. I got my best friend. I got a dumbass. I get my Mustang running. I'm basically, I think, just 14. The first day I take it to school. Now that's a big day,
You're allowed to drive it to school?
Oh, hell yeah.
At
Okay.
14, yeah.
Okay.
I could drive it at 13. I had a farm driver's license,
so
but I didn't have it running.
But so
14,
driving
you're
is
driving a junior high school.
No, I was freshman.
Yeah, I guess you're right. 14, 15, right.
okay.
Okay.
So anyhow, go to school. My buddy, my best friend's there, Eric, and we talked about this a couple weekends ago when we were hunting. I told him I was going to mention him because he's the bad seed. He's the one that, talked me into it. So I get there. He's like, they all come, all your buddies are out there looking at your car. Oh man, that thing's badass. I'm like 105 pounds of sheer terror at this point. And he's like, dude, you got to give me a ride home. I can't. It's to and from school, man. He's like, yeah, but what if you let me out on this street? It'd still be on your way, and it would cut a bunch of time from me walking home. So all day long, pester. Finally, I'm like, all right, fine. Yeah, that'll work. So
This is first day?
yeah, first day I have my car out. Yeah, so
That's the way it goes.
So he's in the car. We're going down. We leave our high school, which it's kind of you go down the hill and you go towards the stoplight. On the way up, we see the cop coming, and my buddy goes, "Man, he's gonna have to go like a mile that way and back. We got time to take a main. We could drag main."
You can also turn around at any point.
Yeah. So this starts the crime spree. So we take them. I'm like, that's actually, you got a good point. That was solid advice. So we take a main, and we're coming down the hill and enter the dumbass. Me, I'm going, God dang, I think time-wise, we could actually meet him at the stoplight, which would be bad. We should kick off and go Fairgrounds Road. He's like, yeah, that's good. That's good. So that'll be on, I can get back on my way without him catching us. So we get to Fairgrounds Road, which is kind of isolated. We pull onto Fairgrounds Road, and I forgot to mention his aunt, who is sitting in there in a 74 Monte Carlo. She looks at us and she says, would you boys like to race that piece of shit?
His aunt said that?
Yes.
Oh,
That's what she said.
That's her fault.
And I'm
That's
like,
her fault. Everything after this
Yes.
is her fault.
Yes. And I'm like, well, as a matter of fact, that's just what we want to do. So now we're racing, right? We're still in town. And I blow her doors off like she's gone. She's done deal.
Right.
I mean, the 74 Monte, it's like,
Right.
okay. So we're heading down this street, which comes into play later because I forgot there's like a guy that's not a hypocrite later in the story. I blow through this stop sign and on this main street that goes past my shop. And both of us at the same time go, oh shit. We saw this 78 C10 purple and white pickup. And we both knew that's the chief of police. He's coming into town from feeding his cows. He's got a little farm. That's my dad's first cousin. We just blew a stop sign, probably doing 35. So now enter my attorney. My buddy happens to be 9 months older than I am. So he's like, look, dude, cop's not a cop if he's not in a cop car.
Sounds pretty legit,
yeah,
like, even at this age.
I mean,
that's a compelling argument.
Does that hold water?
I think
no,
so.
I would. He can.
Okay.
He can't write a ticket, but he's still a cop.
To be determined.
Yeah, well, let's see.
So we're having this little conversation about the law. And it seemed like his legal mind was better than mine at this point.
Yep.
So now the chief of police is chasing us in his pickup. And my attorney's going, how do we know that's the chief of police? It could just be some crazy guy chasing us.
Yeah, you're right.
Good, right? We better get
That's
home.
a good point. So now I run the
that'll-
second stop sign. And now we're headed out of town. So we're hauling ass now. And we're still having this conversation about what is the legality of this situation. And now he's speeding up, we're speeding up. So now I turn and I run the county stop sign. And as we're going, I get to saying to myself, like, God dang, this guy's my dad's first cousin. He farms out by us. He knows me. He knows my dad. He knows his car, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, the legal situation probably ain't gonna be the problem.
Yeah, so I took it. I told my buddy, I was like, I'm beginning to think a cop is a cop, whether he's in a cop car or not. My buddy's like, now the attorney's gone. My buddy's like, dude, I think you're right.
I appreciate it.
I'm like, shit. So I stop up by like I-70 overpass and I jump out of my car and I'm like 105 pounds of sheer badass. And I'm standing at the back of my car like, this guy ain't a cop, you know? So he shows up and he jumps out of his truck and he comes at me and he's like, you stupid son of a bitch. He's like, you must be on drugs. He said, I'm taking you back down to have you tested for drugs. I know you and you're not this goddamn dumb. And I'm like, okay.
We'll get to that in a minute. Can you tell me, we've got to settle an argument between me and my buddy.
So I was like,
Are you on the clock?
so we follow him to town and we go to the on-duty police officer, the one that we missed. Well, he's gone on break, so he's at his house. So we go to his house and the cops up there, his hands are flying, or the chief of police. Well, this guy that's the cop at the time, he's got a really unique voice, and he goes, well, now, bud, let's just calm down. Mike's a pretty good kid. Let's talk about this. And Bud's just going. My buddy at this point apparently decides he's a studious guy, and he needs to do his homework. He goes, man, I got some homework to do. I think I'm just going to walk home from here. So he leaves. Hey, thanks. You know, so now come over. I get ticket for running a city stop sign, running a county stop sign, underage driving, and the bad one was reckless endangerment.
That's not a good one.
That's not a good one.
No.
So it's not over
It's
because
his fucking family. I mean, the guy's like, I mean,
it could have been
your
worse.
cousin.
Yeah, it could have been worse. So
Couldn't.
So the funny part is the cop that's on duty ends up being a school board member, and I end up being a school board president later in life. And I asked him if he remembered. He's like, yeah, I remember that. Which, can you imagine me as a school board president? But I was. Anyway, so he delivers me to my parents, the chief of police, with the tickets, right? So this is kind of an interesting part. So we go into the room where we don't go. You know, it's the special room where like company comes. And they are yelling at me like full volume, all of them. And you can yell at me, but that doesn't mean I have to absorb it. It's kind of like our son. He's just, nobody's home. Once you get to that point, he's just like, okay, as soon as you're done yelling,
turn the switch off.
So I'm standing there. I'm standing there. They're yelling at me, and I don't think I smiled, but inside I'm going, I'm not going to be driving this car for a while. I'm going to tear this thing down and I'm going to paint it black. Oh my God.
Perfect timing.
When this car is black, I mean, so bad. I'm telling you now, as soon as they're done yelling, I'm pulling it over to the shed. I'm tearing it down and we're painting it black. So maybe he kicked me into this restoration thing.
You're not listening to a thing.
I didn't hear anything. I don't know what they said.
Right.
I just was waiting for him to be done.
Right.
And I don't even know if they told me I don't know anything. I just know that, like, obviously I'm not driving it.
Yeah, you had an idea.
I'm going to paint it black. And that's it. So then when I met her,
that's one of the best ones.
Yeah, it's insane. So when I met her, the car was black, and she's like, "That is a badass black Mustang."
Like, yeah,
so
I know it is.
Yeah,
It's a life changer.
Yeah. So that was one of them.
Yeah, that's good shit.
Oh, I've got it.
I mean, this is a small town. Did these stories not go around? Did she not know what she was getting into?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
She wanted the outlaw. I get it.
Yeah. Well, her brother's not exactly an angel. We did some dumb shit. I mean, I got pinched on Vine Street in Hayes. I didn't get clocked because I was 2 car lengths ahead of the guy, but he got clocked at 103 and a 45. But that was bad.
Yeah.
I got out of that one because I worked on people's cars at night. So I got some bad tickets that night. I got like 4 bad ones. And I had worked on this particular person's car whose dad happened to be a judge. Didn't charge
Those are the
him.
best ones.
And so I went to him. Back then, like, there was still Dragon Main. It was just like, I mean, you'd go to Main Street in Hayes, and you could tell who you were by what tag you had on your car, because in Kansas, they have, like, TR, which is Trego County, EL, which is Ellis County, you know. So if you had those letters, everybody knew, like, you were from out of town. So it was real dicey. If you went there, you could get the shit kicked out of you, which, you know, happened. Yep. And you'd just drag Main, and it'd be like 3 miles of solid cars and kids, and it was just a party, man. It was like a mobile party.
Damn.
It was wild. And so one of the things that would happen is they'd chase you out of town. You know, we got basically the crap kicked out of us at the varsity one night because my buddy, who's too stupid to mind his mouth, leans out of a car and tells this guy, "Hey man, nice wheels." The guy goes, "Thanks." He goes, "But your fucking car sucks." So, but yeah, just law enforcement stuff in general. There was a lot of it, but I did get out of these tickets. I went to this person and I said, "Man, you know, I got a Trego County tag, and these guys are Ellis County," and they saw me and they started throwing shit. I was racing the '66 Chevelle that I wanted to race in a stupid place, and I beat him. And he goes, well, "What happened, Mike?" And I said, "Man, it's a bad deal." I said, "This carload of Hayes guys pulled up and they started throwing shit at me, telling me they was going to kick my ass. So I was trying to get away from them. I was trying to outrun them. And these cops just wouldn't listen. They wrote me all these tickets for drag racing, exhibition of acceleration, endangering the lives of the public." You know, he goes, "Oh man, yeah, I know that happens. That's a bad deal. I can't get rid of all of it, but are you okay paying for a broken taillight court costs?" And I'm like,
I can handle that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can swing
I've
that.
been meaning to fix that.
Yeah.
"Yeah,
Let me go kick the shit out of it right now. Or
oh yeah, yeah, a lot of bad ones."
man, it's been awesome.
Yeah, it's been a good time.
This
some
goes
great
down.
stories.
This is the best law enforcement interaction story.
Yeah,
I'll
that's
say,
a good one.
yeah, it's the best one.
Yeah, that one's definitely pretty good.
My mom still gets irritated about it. She'll listen to this and she'll go, "Yeah."
Oh, Just don't let her listen to this. That's nothing to listen
This
to
isn't
here.
for, this isn't.
Oh,
for,
my parents will definitely listen to this.
my grandma, she was listening to it in the beginning.
She
right?
was,
Early?
yeah.
And then she discontinued.
Yes, your
too
potty
many,
mouth.
too many words like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of your grandmother,
Yes.
this is an announcement that I shouldn't make.
What's it?
I'm officially old.
Why?
I know we knew that.
I bumped my hand,
You're bleeding?
and
What does that have to do with my grandmother?
I'm thin-skinned.
How
so
old
when
are
you
you?
get old, I just full blown. I've been bleeding this entire episode just from just a little nick.
Jesus.
Yeah,
That's a sign there's a more serious illness going on there.
you know what? It's not.
Yeah. Oh, geez.
It's definitely not that or COVID. I'm 46.
46.
He just hasn't aged really well. So,
I'm 54.
yeah. Right, exactly.
Oh, you've aged extremely better than me.
Oh, yeah.
Right. I would have guessed that you're younger than him.
No way.
100%.
Dude,
yeah.
look at this hair.
Look at my fucking hair. There's no hair.
Well, okay.
You know? But yeah, I would have pegged you for at least a year younger than him.
He's also not a good person, though,
I love
so I
you,
wouldn't
man.
listen. Big Creek Restoration.
Yep.
And the
Verified.
Fabrication.
Yep.
Check it out.
You're getting possibly close to double digit followers.
Big gains.
Big gains.
Well, I appreciate you guys inviting me to do this.
Oh, it's been awesome.
Yeah,
It's been a good time.
It's been, you guys have such a great product line, and just you've never sent me anything that's disappointed me, and I can't wait to get some of these projects out that are rolling on your stuff, and
But we're looking
pretty
forward
excited.
to it, man. Thank
Actually, she has a spec chassis under her fastback, so we
right
picked that
on.
up last year, so we're pretty excited about that too. That's
It's the original?
no. So I promised her I'd buy her another car when we sold her.
it's
We sold her fastback to buy our house, and I said, "Don't worry about it. I'll get you another one." Now, lesson to the young
took a
married.
little bit.
Yeah,
Took a little
lesson to
bit.
the young married guys. I never said when.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was like, I think it was almost like 30 years later, I got it for her 50th birthday. But I did do it. So now we're building that. So it will be black, not orange.
Well, everybody check you out, Big Creek Restoration, and also Detroit's right around the corner. Cross your fingers. Maybe you'll see something fucking cool.
I'm not making any promises, but
I know.
we're gonna run for it.
I know.
We'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thanks,
see you
guys.
again next week.